Welcome to the Independent Characters, episode 208. This is Carl.
This is Adan.
And this is Justin.
And this episode, we are taking our second dive into our Champions of 40K series, which, would you believe the last time we did this was January of last year?
No.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't feel that long ago. But this is Heroes of the Imperium 2. We're going to pick, characters we really enjoy out of the Imperium, talk a little bit about what we like about them, their models, the whole 9 yards. If you haven't listened to our other episodes doing this, I would highly recommend going and checking them out.
Yeah, they're fun.
People seem to really like them.
And we brought Justin out of mothballs.
That's right. That's right. And listen, you may have heard we have a Patreon. We've had it for over a year now. If you're interested in that kind of thing, go support us. If not, that's cool. But I would like to thank Andrew Dobson, who is our Patreon supporter of this show. Thank you very much for your support, Andrew.
Thank you, sir.
Super helpful. And we really do appreciate it. So let's launch right into Elite Choice. You guys mind if I go first?
Not at all.
No, go ahead.
I'm going to talk about Tony Palmer and his completed game table.
Ooh, that's purty.
It was very sweet.
He finished this game table. He posts, I finished the game table today and I wanted to share. It's basically a topper placed over 3 IKEA Kallax, and that's Kallax shelves, built with a pine base, a Tassie oak outer, and felt in it.
Yeah, that works really well.
Okay. So
using the IKEA things was brilliant.
Yeah, because it's all the storage underneath it. But that table he built is beautiful.
It is.
It's really nice.
That thing is beautiful, and
I couldn't do that. No way.
Well, you know what? Doug has moved into his new house.
Right.
Our friend Doug Neal, and he showed me the table of ultimate gaming that he bought. But he's like, well, it's okay, but I kind of want something different and blah, blah, blah. And so he and I may build new game tables together.
Sweet.
Like using we may design them and build them together and then, each have one that's similar to each other. But I really like what this guy did here. Tony clearly he knows what he's doing with woodworking, but it's a beautiful table, man. And it has, you can play board games in it, and it has the cover that you can put over the top so that, you can use it as a normal table, but it's clearly in his gaming room because you can tell by the artwork on the walls and stuff. But beautiful. And I love the color of it too. It's just
the only problem when you make a table that nice, you're like, ooh, don't put your, don't keys, ooh, because it's a work of art, man. It's pretty.
Yeah, well done,
Very
Tony.
nice.
I just really, really love it. So that's my my elite choice for this week. Justin, what about you?
Oh man, you guys knew who I was picking.
Oh yeah, I totally.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm not even going to claim this one. This is Justin.
This was so gross.
So David Moss
and
your disgustingly sexy Slanesh Knight. That thing, he even came up with some twisted lore that was straight out of, Event Horizon. And the model was just creepy. And it's funny.
It is a borderline. Like, I looked at the pictures of that model and I'm like, should I let this on the page? This is horrifying.
And to be frank, when I first saw, because I think he posted a picture of the build.
Yeah.
I wasn't too keen
You weren't too sold
on
on
the
it.
build.
Yeah.
And then he painted it up, and clearly the guy's got some talent with a brush. And he put the filleted harp
Oh my God,
dude
so
on top, and banners, and it's fleshy, and the face for me too. Like I'm always harping on the whole faces, shields, banners, and hands. The old Vince Ventrilla kind of thing, because it makes so much sense. But like he drew the attention totally to the face, and it would have been really, really easy to do that face in the same purple kind of mottled effect. But the fact that he brightened it up, put the veins in it.
Oh, it's so gross.
And like your eye is instantly drawn to that and then goes, ooh, I need to look around this model some more. Yeah. And the more you look around, you're like, ooh, eesh. And it's the way Slanesh should be. Like, I think if Slanesh is done right.
Should be pushing the edge.
Should be pushing the edge. I mean, even like the way the armor panels are done, which, because his lore is like the thing feels pain, and through the 3 different beings on it, they share the pain and pleasure of this thing getting hit by gunfire, and it just loves the pain.
That's great.
And the armor panels are made to look like that fleshy.
Ooh.
It was just really well done, and very talented dude. So
completely agree.
Well done.
Well done, dude.
And Moss, didn't we put him in the category of?
Oh, did we?
Hall of Fame category?
I don't know.
Isn't that one of the guys?
We're gonna have to sit down
between
a show and discuss who goes in that Hall of Fame. I'll make a page on the thing for it. Yeah.
Ooh, and that Titan
we know who's on there.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
Don, what about you?
Absolutely. Yeah. So first of all, I want to say, hey, thanks for having me remotely.
Oh yeah.
You and Justin are there. And
well, we miss you, man.
I'm dialing in. I appreciate it. I picked something that is, I thought was really cool. So the military has a new vehicle that they're putting out there.
Yep.
It's an armored troop. I believe it's an armored troop transport with a missile launcher thing on the top.
As you do.
So it's a missile launching striker basically, and they are soliciting input on the name for this vehicle, and you can actually go and vote for it. There's a couple threads in the community. I try and close them down because they got multiple posts, but basically, one of the things they propose is the name Manticore, and it kind of looks like a 40K Manticore. And what's really cool is that because they put the names out there, and they talk about what does that name mean, or where does it come from?
Right.
It's a legendary animal with the
head of a man
and the body of a lion, and blah blah blah. But then when they talk about where else does this name appear, like one of them is a Land Rover. The Defender is a Land Rover.
Right.
Manticore says fictional missile launching tank in the game Warhammer.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
I thought that's pretty awesome.
Military thing. I love it.
It's gone mainstream.
So
boy, is it.
Go vote for Manticore.
Adan, you mentioned something that you were shutting down some of these threads because you were trying to, they were getting posted multiple times. Just real quick, I think we should mention also, listen, if you have friends that you want to have join the group, your best bet is to actually contact that friend and say, hey, here's a group you want to join. Because when you invite a friend directly to join the group, they don't get the questionnaire, and we automatically delete applications that don't include the questionnaire answers. And they don't even have to necessarily be right, but they have to be in the ballpark, and they have to, at least speak to who is trying to apply. It's just
so many bogus requests.
Taking that stance has saved us a lot of heartache as moderators, and it also just makes it super easy for us to go nope, yep, and anything that saves us time is tremendously helpful. And it's bummer because sometimes I see the invite and I'll go look and I'm like, clearly this person is a 40K player, but if they're that interested in joining,
go directly.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that
fill out
we want
form.
people to actually know what the group is about and kind of know the vibe,
right?
Because it's not the same as every other group.
It's not.
And
oh boy,
that
has
also
not.
caused problems too, where people get invited. Because I used to let people in if I said, oh yeah, this person's been a member for a while, and I'll let their invite in, and that person doesn't know anything about the show or the group, and then we end up moderating them out.
Yeah. Yep. And we have moderated out a few people lately.
Yeah.
And the reality is we hate doing it. I consider our group kind of heavily moderated. We're not trying to silence anybody, but we are trying to keep the feel of the show in the group. And again, if that doesn't sit well with you, there's a lot of groups out there that you can join.
Yep.
Yeah, totally. And but I don't think that's the case. Like the majority of people in that group are very, very, in our group are very positive, very supportive. We love you guys.
Yep. And when they do have a negative stance, it's worded properly and being constructive.
And I think that's an important part
not
too.
That hard.
I would highly recommend going and reading our rules on our website at theindependentcharacters.com. There is a section for the community standards, and please go read that and just understand where we're coming from. That's all I'm going to say on that. Yep. Let's move on. So I think we just launched right into the rest of the show right now.
A lot of stuff to cover.
Yeah.
Yep.
You got anything I missed, Adan? You got anything exciting going on in Lords and Heroes?
Lords and Heroes, we skipped the June thing because it was supposed to be a 4-way battle on a table in person,
which you couldn't do.
So which we couldn't do. So we didn't do June. But Justin and I are talking about something to do for the July episode,
Nice.
And that could be coming soon.
All right, well, cool. Well, guys, all right. You know what? Thanks for joining us for the show, man. We haven't had the three of us on in a while.
It's been a while.
Kind of excited.
And I wish I had something to say about CK Studios, but the world is on lockdown. So be patient with us.
The world's on fire.
That being said, though,
our passports won't get us into but 4 other countries at this moment.
Right, yeah.
I will give a shout out. Vince Ventrilla will be teaching a class.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
So probably 6 feet away, wearing a mask for the
Is
weekend.
it November? When is that?
I should have been more prepared and looked it up. But if you go to CK Studios Facebook page, it'll be listed.
Yeah.
It's in a couple months, I believe.
You looking forward to getting back to that eventually?
Jonesing, man.
Yeah.
I'm missing it.
All right. Well, okay, guys, we will talk to you soon. So we hope you enjoy the show.
Matt here to welcome you into 2020 and tell you about an amazing new offer from Table War. All returning customers receive an extra 10% off Table War's US web store. Need a tower case? 10% off. Need a new fat mat? 10% off. Need a macro mat, geomat, or just some accessories? All 10% off. This offer starts January 1st and will continue on throughout 2020. No coupon required. Just ensure you have an account and this discount is automatic. This is our way of saying thank you to all of our loyal customers. So visit us today at tablewar.com. Table War. Table War is a registered trademark of Table War Designs, Inc., all rights reserved.
All right, let's kick it off with a bit of hobby progress, and we're going to start with Justin.
Just a little bit.
Just a little. Man, you've been killing it.
You know?
We haven't had you on in a while, so.
Yeah. It's been a while, but also, quarantine.
Had to fire you again.
Yeah. Fired, rehired.
Didn't bring you back again.
His unemployment benefits ran out.
Yeah, unemployment. Does ICES pay unemployment? No.
Cruel mistresses you guys are. But yeah, I've got a lot of work done last few months, really, because my work schedule, like I'm back.
You were off for a while, right?
I was off for about 3 months.
Yeah,
still getting paid. Thank the emperor. But being back, like I was used to working really long days, and now we're pretty much like no overtime. Nobody works overtime.
Really?
So I'm basically working 8-hour days.
Are they just trying to control that, or is it just like, no, we don't want you out there that long?
Yeah, well, they're just saving any expense they can.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. I mean, 52,000 people were furloughed. So,
buddy,
how many?
52,000.
You had that many people
with Best Buy, Magnolia, 52,000 people. So we're thinking our
I think a lot of those jobs are going to come back though.
Yeah, and the thing is they're furloughed. They're not like
right.
It's once business.
God, that's brutal. That's brutal.
So I mean, long story short, I've been working shorter days and been able to still kind of get. I'm lucky, and I've still been able to get like a lot more hobby in.
Okay,
which is nice because I've been focused. This is actually previously to finding out there was even a new edition coming out. I had heard about the new Harlequin rules.
Yeah,
and they got me quite happy. So I got motivated. And I said, you know what? I've been sitting on this army for how many years? It's time to just bite the bullet and paint 1 trillion diamonds, and I did.
Oh my God!
I still have a few more trillion to go, but I've put a lot of work into them. I kind of attacked the entire project, which I had already put a fair bit amount of work into.
Yeah, you already had paint on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, it wasn't done, but it had like a good chunk taken out of it. But I kind of sat the whole thing on a tray, as I often do, and I went through and I basically block colored like the entire thing with the intent of, okay, I'm going to get all the boring stuff done, and then I can kind of take it unit by unit and focus on finishing things, right?
Gotcha.
So kind of a weird approach that I do sometimes with armies. I find it helps.
Whatever works for you.
Whatever works for you.
Getting all the block color done, I would be done.
Yeah, I mean, it would be like 2 or 3 nights of gold, gold, and just blue, wash, but it's super efficient. And then the treat is that you get to take 5 at a time and kind of paint diamonds.
Oh boy,
that's a treat.
And I did actually learn like a few tricks along the way to speed that technique up, and I'll probably do a brief little like
video
picture or a video on it just to kind of help people out there, because
very nice.
It's painful, but once you've done it a few times, it does get easier, like most things in the hobby. So with that in mind, actually, big hobby purchase I would say kind of changed and helped big time in the Harlequins. Well, 2 things. The Artist Opus paintbrushes are awesome. You always hear Carl and I talk about them. Mm-hmm. Those brushes are phenomenal.
They're great.
I'm primarily using.
It's the first time I've taken care of brushes.
Yeah. Brush soap those babies after every use.
I totally take care of them.
And so I've been using the S series almost.
I have the dry brush series too.
Yeah,
which is kind of cool.
Super good. Yeah, super good.
I feel like they're makeup brushes, but they do the job.
They're fancy makeup brushes.
Yes, but they do the job.
But they're also, I find the bristles on those are super soft.
Yep, they are.
Which lends itself much better than like your cheap Walmart or whatever makeup brushes.
Yeah.
So I've been digging those. And then I finally broke down and bought a Vortex paint mixer.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen those.
Isn't that like $1,000? I mean, those things are expensive. I mean, I'm kidding.
It's like $95 on Amazon.
Yeah, they're expensive.
But it's just like a little thing that shakes your paint, basically, right?
Amazingly well. Yeah.
Okay.
And especially if you put like little glass beads in your paints, that helps the vortex mix them even better. And it just saves you from having to some of the paints, like especially scale 75 with that gel medium.
Yeah.
Like you're sitting there shaking it forever, and these things, boom, real quick. And
can it shake my rattle cans?
It probably could. I actually experimented because I had a little kink in my neck. I'm like, I wonder if I hold this up to my neck, and I'll be damned. It actually massaged a kink out of my neck. I swear to God, it did. So it's worth the money.
That's funny.
And it was fun. I was giving my buddy Dan a hard time because we'd be doing a hobby hangout, and you'd hear this.
Yeah.
And I'm giving him a hard time. I broke down and listened to him like I always do eventually, and it was worth the purchase. So. But anyhow, a lot of Harlequins. I've managed to finish 5 troops and a Death Jester so far. And then in preparation of my first 9th edition game, Chris would not let me not use the clowns. Because I was like, dude, I got to put a lot of work into these guys. Let me just use my Death Guard, please. Yeah. He's like, no, I really want to face your clowns. I'm like, challenge accepted. So like the night before I put 6 hours in, and then the day of I'm just like frantically resin gluing them to their flight stands, and the riders are still poster puttied onto the jet bikes and stuff. But I was able to put a decent chunk of work into 50 power level.
Nice.
And get it totally battle ready.
Nice. You did power level, huh?
Yeah. Well, we did Crusade.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I haven't done that yet.
It's fun.
I know. I'm very excited about it.
It's almost like role playing, Carl.
ROLL.
You're right.
So when you say 5 Harlequin troops, that's not 5 models. That's 5
squads.
I guess it would be troopers, troopies, 5 men, 5 models.
Okay.
Oh, it's 5 models. Oh, okay.
And actually since then too, I've actually put another 4 hours into 5 more. But yeah, 5 I have actually done and varnished.
Nice.
And I posted the picture of those guys on the
I saw them.
on the IC page. And then the Death Jester, and then I put a bunch more work into them, and it just feels good to finally be like focused on that army and kind of overcoming that mental obstacle.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that was mostly me.
You got Indominus.
I did get Indominus. So yeah, purchases.
But you don't play either of those armies.
Well, I wanted the limited edition rulebook.
Okay.
And there was a bunch.
I mean, you could always sell off those other armies if you really chose to.
That's true. And the new Necrons are kind of
right.
They're kind of calling to me.
Right? Like, I keep looking at them.
Especially after seeing the Void Dragon.
And I'm just like, oh, man, I really don't need another army.
And
I'm
I
not
know
doing it.
I could paint them so quickly, too.
Not doing it.
Yeah.
But they are cool looking.
I already have a well of opportunity.
I'm so excited. But I am so excited to see them get like a ton of new stuff. Like, it's going to make a really cool... I want to know like who's next that gets a ton of new stuff. Like,
I'm sure it's going to be insane.
Yeah.
And then some of the Marine sculpts too, like
they're so good, dude.
I'm not even a big Marine guy, but those bikes and the chaplain especially, I love that chaplain.
That chaplain is amazing.
Even if I just paint that as a gift for my brother, like because he loves Blood Angels, and I always from time to time I'll paint up like a little model and just give it to him for a birthday or whatever.
Yeah.
So I just looked at it, and the deal you get on that,
it's a good deal.
It's a good deal, right?
Let's talk a second about it's selling out super fast. So a couple things happened. It went up for sale, and the set wasn't even in the US. The set was not even up there,
right?
Initially, and I was like, "What the hell?"
Pre-orders,
like you couldn't even get it there, and I'm like, "Oh man, this is really sucks."
Right.
Like it wasn't even on GW's site,
right?
And I was like, "Oh man, like what did they sell out everywhere?" And then apparently, I think somebody screwed up or intentionally delayed putting it up there, because then it appeared up there.
And then it went
5 minutes later, and then it went in 15 minutes. It was gone.
Yeah.
I did get one because somebody in our group, in the Facebook group, was like, "It's now up there," and I was like, "Oh!" And I went back and ordered it. But people were upset, and they were upset in our Facebook group about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Guys, if you don't think GW is going to make this right, I go give them a chance. Like they don't intentionally want to short sell this thing. Like they're making money off of it.
They just didn't anticipate." I mean, which is awesome, right? At the end of the day, it's awesome that the hobby is exploding that much.
I think they over marketed it, right? Like,
well, I think that there's 2 things. One, they marketed the hell out of it.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing is my personal opinion, they have a little bit of a track record of underestimating demand on some of these things. and so I kind of bit him in the butt. So
yeah.
But then they
agreed.
did right by the fan base, right?
Oh yeah.
And I mean, making it, what do they call it, print to order or whatever. I mean, dude, that's pretty sweet. And yes, you can only buy one, per account.
Sure.
I mean, you could easily work that system if you so chose, but I was like, great solution.
Yeah.
And then somebody said, I think it was Jody said, well, why didn't they just do that from the get-go then? Why can't you just like order print to order? And I'm like, because then you cut out the friendly local game stores who can't.
Right.
And now all of a sudden it becomes an issue because game stores can't get it to sell it. Right?
Yeah. And that for me was that was a little bit of a double-edged sword because I placed my original order through Herrick Games and Hobbies.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
fortunately, he got like 80% of his stock cut.
Exactly. But he reached out to everybody and was like, this is terrible. I feel bad. And he gave a little store credit. And in the long run, my buddy who I just got into the hobby, sorry, John, sorry, not sorry, he was able to get one. And I messaged Herrick and was like, I'm so glad that he was able to get one.
Right.
And have his first experience be a canceled order. You know, and he agreed.
Well, and Sky did a great job. I mean, he gave up his own so that someone else.
Yeah. But now he doesn't have to, right? I mean,
now he doesn't have to, right? Yeah.
Another one. So
yeah, it all worked out. And I was able to get one as well. So
yeah, I mean, look, I ordered one, but I'll think GW sent me one.
Right.
I gave Aaron the Necron half to
paint up and promote.
Hey, work out the Necron half, and then we'll talk about it. I took the Marine half because I'm going to add those to my Minotaurs. But the reality is, I kind of don't need a whole second one. Like, I don't need like more of these characters.
Sure.
It's right. Maybe I can kit bash with them or sell them off or something. But
he'll find a use.
Yeah.
But that was cool that you got one, received one. From our benevolent masters, and then
I was super impressed with the Marine models. Like super impressed.
And now you have a 6-man bike squad.
Yeah. Well, that was actually the main reason I bought the next set.
Full 20 intercessor assault marines.
Yes. Man,
the assault marines. Those guys are
jump packs. Please give them jump packs.
Hey, at least they got Rend 1 chainswords.
Yeah.
With all them 4 attacks each now.
Jeez.
On a basic chapter marine.
They're pretty brutal.
But
yeah, so
and they count as troops, right?
I don't know.
I would assume so.
I would assume so too. I haven't even really looked into it yet, to be honest with you. I've been so focused on the actual modeling piece of it. Anyway, Don, let's move on to your hobby progress.
Yeah, so I went on an Audible binge, and Black Library had a bunch of novellas on Audible, a lot of short ones, and so I threw some money in there, and I mean, there's like, I don't know, go through all of them, but there was like 8 of them that I got, Morning Star and Broken Chain, some of the Black Shields ones and stuff like that. So those are really cool. But I also listened to Cadia Stands by Justin D. Hill.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I had originally planned to listen to that because it is relevant to the show. And I was going to listen to something else, and I got towards the end of it, I'm like, oh no, I have to get the next one. And so I bought more credits so I could get the next Justin Hill Audible novel.
Nice.
I guess I think it's audio only. It's called Cadian Honor, and
it's not audio only.
Oh, it's not. No. Okay, but it carries a couple of the characters from Cadia Stands over.
Yep. In particular, the main character, right?
Yeah. Well,
have you listened to the second one yet?
I'm partway through it. Yeah.
So I really enjoyed the first one.
Yeah.
I felt like it was interesting because you get this kind of not full understanding of what's going on, because it's kind of like the ground person's view of the assault on Cadia, and there's like, I don't know, and then all of a sudden the Blackstone Fortress hits, and they're like, what the hell is that? Like they don't
right.
They don't know.
That's cool. Always seeing that perspective.
Yeah. The second one I struggled with. With the second one a lot.
I have to say, I was going to say that, the first one I really, really enjoyed, and I really liked the way that he dealt with the characters. The second one, it
just didn't stick with me like the other ones did.
There's a couple of things in it where I kind of went, oh yeah, of course he does. I mean, it was too tropey in some ways. And I was kind of disappointed by that. But overall. It's well written. It's just that there were certain things that happened and with certain things with the characters. I'm like, really? Seriously?
The further they got from Cadia, like the less interested I kind of became in what was occurring with them.
Right. I also got a couple of the Indominus box sets.
You got a couple.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be one of the people who got their name drawn from Herrick.
Nice.
And then
you win everything. I swear
know he does, doesn't he?
Goodness.
One of the local stores had not sold out. I called him and I said, "Hey, are you getting an order?" He goes, "Yeah, we still have 9 that we haven't accounted for." I'm like, "Okay, I'll be there in 20 minutes." And so I think they're now sold out too. But there's several stores here in the Valley of the Sun that I think still have a couple available that they haven't accounted for.
I think Game Castle here in the Bay Area does.
Yeah. Table War is back in production and back in stock. So I got a full tower and a mini.
I saw that you ordered that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I only had the half tower before. And I had set it up kind of like you had, where you had all your hobby stuff in it.
Yeah.
But then I found out it was really good for some of my smaller armies.
Yeah.
So I was using it for Warcry and for things like that. So the mini is awesome because it fits underneath a plane seat. So you can carry it on and slide it right underneath your seat.
That's huge.
Doesn't carry very much, but yes.
For smaller games, though, right?
Right, for Underworlds and Warcry.
Oh, perfect for that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's,
totally perfect for that. Yeah.
Right. And that was what I was planning to do for Nova Open, which now has been canceled. But I was going to be playing Warcry and Underworlds. So it would have been fine.
I got to tell you, at this point, I'm worried about Adepticon in March.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I know.
I mean, it's just, this
I'm worried about
doesn't have an end.
Our continued existence as mankind. Is bioengineered.
Hey, let me tell you something. Thank the Emperor that you do not live in Arizona.
I do.
I was actually going to visit Arizona because I'm crazy and I wanted to experience that heat.
Don't know if you want to do that.
But decided not to. Yeah.
All
right. And then something that I didn't realize was as much work it was going to be. I had to finalize what my paint scheme was going to be for my Mordians, because even though I'm sending off like 130 miniatures to get commission painted, you have to decide what you want them to look like, right?
Yeah.
And so, but I kind of settled on, like, the regular dudes are going to have red caps, and the heavy weapons teams will have blue caps, and the special weapons teams will have yellow caps, and so you can kind of tell really
that'll
quickly.
Help big time.
Yeah, I think so. And then I think for the conscripts, because it turns out that I actually have enough models to actually do conscripts as well. I'm going to have them kind of like either off-white or light gray epaulets and caps.
Yeah.
Like they haven't earned their colors yet.
Yeah.
And so, and then the only last thing I haven't figured out, because I haven't decided if I'm going to do it yet, are veterans. And the veterans, I was thinking maybe I would do like gold metallic epaulets and black hats. I don't know.
You know what's interesting is you talked about last episode how you finally just came to the conclusion you do not like painting.
That was going to be my question.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, you go
and
ahead.
I was just going to say, it was interesting the reaction that got in the group where people were like, I was very glad to hear Don just make this definitive statement about I'm done with this. So I'm totally fine. You send stuff out. That's great. But picking the colors is tricky. That's the hardest part of painting.
Well, and the other thing is that you have to pack it all up, right? And so, and I have a couple of boxes or a couple of sets of the Victoria Miniatures female Mordians.
Yep.
So I'll be able to mix those in too. So I'm super excited, and
that's
got a good deal on it. Yeah. So that's super awesome.
You just let me know when you want to sell your paints, all right?
No, I'm not going to be selling the paints. I'm still playing around. Like I'm still painting some Stormcast and stuff like that.
No, good man. Don't give it up. Just do it at your leisure.
I'm using the heck out of the contrasts. So,
but I just think the important thing is that if you don't enjoy something, and clearly he's given it a try multiple times, taking classes, and if you get to a point you're like this does not appeal to me, stop beating your head against the wall.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, all right. Guess on to me. Can we talk about me now? Okay.
Is it me time now?
It's all about you, Carl.
It's you time.
So I assembled and primed the Primaris half of the Indominus box. Got to say again, super impressed with those sculpts. Just Primaris Marines for me are way more interesting to paint than older Marines. I just think there's something about that scale. And I used to say this before. I love painting Terminators. They're just like slightly bigger. And I just felt like this is the area I like painting in.
There's also so much more kind of character with these models. They have skulls and
they're very fantastic.
Yeah, crusade looking.
Love them. Absolutely. I love every model that came out of that set. Like there's not a one.
Which head did you decide on, the captain?
The one with the visor.
The visor. Open. It's so different. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of different, but
excuse me.
Yeah, it's good. It's a cool.
Yeah, there's a Sister of Battle like that too, and I just love it. I love like the visor up kind of thing. I just think that's the coolest.
Yeah.
I did a first pass through the 9th edition rules, and just kind of familiarized myself with them a bit and a little bit around the Crusade stuff, which for us, I mean,
sounds
for
super
me,
awesome.
That's the way I'm playing. Jody is very interested in it too, so I actually loaned him the book so he could read through it. And then I was super frustrated that I missed that the 20th year anniversary edition of Demonifuge went on sale.
How did you miss that? I want to say we haven't talked about it.
Well, no, we did way before it came out. Here's the thing. Work has been busy and life has been busy. We've been having work done on the house. We've been doing all this stuff.
And Games Workshop releases something like 14 times a day.
Yes, that was my point. Like if you take your eye off that ball for a minute, you miss, something that you want. And I've lived in this so much that like I kind of became, I'd hear people go, "Oh, how did I didn't know this was coming out." Like, how could you not know this was coming out? And now I'm like, "Oh, now I see how you didn't know it was coming out. You haven't lived in this." And so, to your point, they release stuff all the freaking time now. And if you're not paying attention, you miss it. And so I missed it. And I didn't want like the super duper box set. I just wanted the color hardback edition. Fortunately, a lot of game stores still have it for sale. I was able to find it on eBay for the sale price, like $35 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So I feel like, oh, cool. So at least I got my copy of it. I'm excited about that.
And you have the model on the way as well. We split
I have the model.
The box.
And we'll talk about that in a bit because I think we've made a mistake splitting that box.
Okay.
Because there are rules for those two models.
Oh, where they come together.
Where they work together.
Yeah. I just wanted the Harlequin and I was going to convert it into.
I figured.
And I figured you were going to convert the model into a Canoness or something.
Something. Yeah.
So let me know if you change your mind. That's fine.
I think I'll still take it. I just may order another one.
Sure. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Anyway, and then, we've been playing a lot of Call of Cthulhu online, and I finally just broke down and I was like, I'm going to paint this gigantic Cthulhu I have from Cthulhu Death May Die.
Was that Osh Primer?
That's all Osh Primer. I've got 2 cans left.
It looked pretty sultry. I'm sitting on like 8.
Oh, man, I wish.
Yeah, I tried to buy as many as I could before.
Yeah. So Osh Primer, both the gray and the black is Osh Primer on that guy. So I figure that's going to just be a lot of airbrushing and a lot of inks and, some glowing effects. And then it'll be, pretty straightforward, I think.
Very cool.
Yeah. And I don't think, actually, to be honest, I don't think it'll take a huge amount of time. It's a big model, but I don't think it'll take that long.
You'll be all right.
And most of that's just because it's cool. And that game is really good, by the way. If you hadn't backed that Kickstarter, I think you can buy the actual game now without the Kickstarter components. And this guy was one of the Kickstarter pieces. And he's actually a piece in the game too, which is pretty cool. So,
I almost want to see some like scale dudes on his base, like fighting, because you can really get the idea.
When you play him,
the sense of the size.
Yeah.
When you play him in the game, the board is set up around him. It's these spots around him, and your guys are moving from spot to spot, fighting him in different locations.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's really great. It's really great. So anyway, that's kind of been what I've been working on lately, other than getting my house painted. And after 3 years, figured out how to turn on the heater in my pool.
The edge highlighting on the house was exquisite, I must
you like
say.
that?
Yeah.
Really well done.
The fade effects.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that Colin traveled all the way from Idaho to do it.
And used an airbrush.
Only cost me $10,000. So, now we had switched away from the hobby goals and promises thing, and we were starting to do the challenge.
Right.
But now that we're all kind of separated, it's kind of put that on hiatus a little bit. So we went back to hobby goals and promises here. I'm going to continue working on my Black Legion. I've really stepped away from kind of any painting lately, and I'm just starting to feel the need to like get back into it. And so I'm going to continue to work on that. But before I do that, I'm probably going to throw some bronze and reds on those Indomitus guys just to at least get them part way there. I'm not going to finish them, but I want to get them started.
Sure.
And then,
are you going to use like a metallic bronze as like the base undercoat?
I don't know. I'm going to paint them just like I painted my other Primaris ones for them. I have like a...
I didn't realize you'd done some of those already.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Have you picked up the Vallejo metal colors yet? The ones that come in the big...
That's the one I'm using.
Okay.
Yeah, they're fantastic. I love them.
So good.
And then that Cthulhu. It's just a nice, like, I want to get started painting again, but like he's such a different model for me. I think it'd be kind of just fun.
It'd be a fun.
He's
the
so
first
huge,
time painting something for just like fun.
Yep.
Right.
Go get one of those house sprayer things to put the base coat on it.
Call the house painters back. Hey, can I use your spray gun real quick?
Could you please come back? Yeah. What about you, Justin? What are you working on?
So I really need to finish a model from a bet I lost from the last Super Bowl.
Oh my God.
He's a good buddy of mine. I met Nathan in Kansas when I taught the class out there and stayed with him and his beautiful family. And he's been very gracious as I've been postponing that thing for way too long. So that's going to be the next thing that hits my painting table.
What is it?
It's a Necron Lord.
Oh, cool.
And I'm sure that he sent me the model aeons ago. And I'm going to make that thing look pretty and send it out to him, which should,
paint it like a Harlequin with diamonds on it.
Well, I thought about actually like green stuffing like a 49ers, mining hat on it.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
But he might disown me as a friend. So I'm going to make it look nice for him. He's a good dude. And it'll probably inspire me to actually want to do a Necron army. So I might test out some schemes on it.
Oh, boy.
Oh, speaking of Necron armies, did you see the one that Colin did?
Oh,
big
it's beautiful.
Model?
Yeah, it's dope.
Oh,
that thing
my
is
gosh.
beautiful. The fades on like the face area look just stunning. He did a really good job.
Gotta love the airbrush, man.
He did a really good job on that.
Amazing.
Absolutely. And then after that, I'm going to finish him like probably in a day or two, maybe 3. And then I'm going to get back to finishing my 6 Skyweaver bikes because when we go into games played, those things need to be done because they're murderous.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then last but not least, I have to finish the Manflayer audiobook. I'm about maybe like a little past halfway done with it. Mm-hmm. And that's a really fun book. It's got the very first paragraph has Fulgrim talking to Fabius Bile in it. And,
right.
Nice.
And then it's just got Dark Eldar in it and just all kinds of torturous horror stuff. So that book's right up my alley. Really fun.
I picked up Saturnine, which I have the collector's edition, which I've read, but I picked it up on Audible just because I want to listen to it again.
Yeah, I picked it up on Audible as well.
Yeah, so it is available now. It's a great book.
Nice.
Good ending.
Nice.
So
nice. So only 6 Skyweaver bikes, not like 18?
No, I own 12.
Justin's rule of 6. Oh,
I own 12 and they're all like, pretty much in the same state, but I'm doing Crusade. I'm starting out small so I can focus myself.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Yeah. What about you, Adan?
I'm going to be focusing on assembling the Adomitus stuff. I want to get that together, and it's 2 boxes full of stuff, and get that assembled, and then
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clip off the push-in tabs.
Oh yeah, no, I
really do it on these.
I'm a big Underworlds player, so
Yeah.
they're
a little bit better.
I'm very familiar with that.
They're a little bit better on
You
this
still
one.
get that gap if you're not careful.
But yeah, there was times where I panicked. I'm like, oh no, like push it super hard to try to get it together.
See, if you're using plastic glue, you'd have a little more working time to play around with that.
Plastic glue sucks though.
No, it doesn't.
Okay. Look, we've
Anyway,
had
we're
this
gonna assemble
argument
that
for years.
stuff.
We're not going to fix it now.
Plastic glue versus super glue. Ding, ding, ding. Fight.
Because I'm hoping that I have a relatively fast method of airbrushing the infantry based on the last couple of classes I took with Caleb. So I don't want to send those off to get them painted. So I'll just do something on my own that won't look anywhere near as good, but at least they'll be painted.
And they're going to be Griffins of Justice or something else, something new and fun.
Yeah, they're going to be Griffins of Justice, but for my Primaris,
your home chapter that you
home chapter, yeah. But for the Primaris, I accepted the challenge from Caleb and decided to not do dark gray and light gray and make them look like poorly painted space wolves, but actually put some color in. So they're going to be kind of a light orange color.
Lots of justicey orange.
Yeah. So
that's a good combination. Orange and gray.
Yeah.
That'll play nice.
That'll actually look really nice.
Yeah, I liked the way that, because I picked kind of a reddish orange color for the Dreadnought that I did at the class in here in Phoenix when they did, because I took the 101 again.
Yeah.
And we did the Dreadnought, and I picked kind of a red and orange kind of
I saw
color scheme for that. Yeah, and I really liked it, so I'm going to try and do the infantry that way.
Interesting.
That's awesome.
Okay. All right. Right on.
Which I'll love. I'll love every minute of it.
Games played.
You will.
Let's Justin, let's keep the order. Let's go with you.
Sure.
Games played.
So very stoked. I got my first game of 9th edition in. We played Power Level. Crazy. I know.
Yeah.
I know. But we did Crusade rules, and Crusade rules call for it. This was against my buddy Chris. We had his Big Mech Bit Tinkerers Believers, because he likes to tinker with bits.
Yep.
Yeah.
And his Death Skulls versus Nepathiel's Soaring Spite Harlequins. So we all sat down and named all our units.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about Crusade. Like it really encourages that.
Yeah, I mean,
behavior,
you have to write everything out. You have to name your units. You have to put down what they're armed with.
I ordered the book. The book
the
as
journal.
Well. Did you get the journal, Adan?
Well, it's the same journal that I had before.
It's not. Did you look at the inside?
No. Oh, it's different because the cover is exactly the same.
No, look inside. Like you can see it on the website. If you look inside, like it's designed to fill out for Crusade.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So I just printed out some little,
Yeah, I mean, I think you can.
Yeah.
Right.
But the journal is pretty cool, and I'll probably be buying it too because Chris and I were both quite smitten with Crusade.
Interesting. All right.
It's a fun way to play. I'm all about playing the different ways, and especially because I assume that Power Level, and they've already, I think, announced that Power Level is going to be kind of adjusted a little bit. That was always kind of my big gripe with it. It's just like some units were so like, no, that should not be 10 Power Level, maybe 5.
Totally agree.
So we had a great time, though. We played the first mission from the Crusade. Took us about a good 2.5, 3 hours just to get the game set up, though.
But you're also working through the rules.
We're working through it. We're having a good time going over what we named our units. And, oh, my God, Chris just had the most hilarious names, just killing me. But his whole theme is his whole army is just Death Skull. So they're all blue. They're all just all about the gubbins. They're all about the loot, and he took all the units, lots of cans and dreadnoughts and
He's such an entertaining guy just in general,
super
too.
Funny.
Yeah,
I mean,
funny. And it was for my birthday.
The two of you guys together are pretty funny.
Oh, thank you. I knew you kept me around for a reason.
Yeah, that's the only reason.
Oh, that's right. Happy birthday, Justin. It was just recently.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so it was a fun birthday bash. Of course, playing Warhammer wearing a mask sucks, but, we got to do what we got to do. But we played a small game. Initially, we tried to pull 25 Power Level, which was a great idea Chris had, because initially we were going to throw the full 50 down. But he's like, you know what? It's too much just for a learning game. Mm-hmm. So we took 25 out, and points weren't quite working out. So I'm like, okay, I can do 28. And he's like, oh, I can do 29. And he gave me an extra command point in game. And it all worked out.
Yeah.
And away we went. I did cut down a game mat, which had quite a few people on the community page like, he's drinking the Kool-Aid. But it's like, first off, this was a mat that I was gifted from a buddy that had to move away, unfortunately. And it was like kind of a carpet-like material. It's one of those kind of, for lack of a better term, kind of a cheaper mat. So I had no problem cutting it down because I have, 8 fat mats. So I cut it down, and man, looking at that size, even for a full 2,000-point game, it's like, oh, this is going to be fun. Yeah, this is going to be bloody. And we ended up only playing on a 44 by 30. Yeah. So this thing was tiny.
Right.
And just had a great time. Initially, when we started the game, I got first turn, and I was going to kind of just, do the Eldar shuffle and shoot them down a little bit. And then I thought about it. I'm like, okay, this is Harlequins.
And you're like, I'm out of room.
Not only that,
but Harlequins, you just got to get in his face.
Harlequins, you got to just shoot them out there. You got to burn all your command points and just murder face with your murder clowns. And that's kind of what I did. The jet bikes shot out into his face, and even a 5-man troop unit on foot made it into combat first turn, because they can advance and charge. And I kind of just bottlenecked him in his deployment zone, and he was trying to break out from there. But man, the Harlequins are just so murderous. I got a chance to use the new White Dwarf Psychic Awakening rules.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And man, that gives that army teeth. They're still fragile. They're still going to die to a stiff wind.
They should be.
But
they put out
and I say that
glass cannons.
I was making a lot of 4-ups because the army has the 4++.
Yeah.
Which, as a Siege player.
Oh yeah, I'm well aware.
You know how that goes. It's all or nothing, baby.
It works well for me.
So regardless, the game was kind of one-sided, but we still had a blast, and we were able to experiment with all the 9th edition rules and Crusade rules. The terrain rules in particular, I love. There's just so much, and a lot of little things that 9th edition really just patches up and makes
just polishes.
Better. It
right?
just polishes.
Yeah. Nice.
You know, we had a blast and polished off some Balvenie. So
nice.
Yeah, it was a good time to be had. Very, very great first experience with 9th edition.
Definitely happy birthday, man.
Thank you.
I'm definitely looking forward to the kind of the portability of the Crusades thing. It's kind of like what they did with Warcry, where you don't have to play the same people all the time.
Yeah.
It's basically your own portable
campaign,
your own personal crusade.
And there's rules for, like, if you have a buffed up army, there's benefits that your opponent gets, even if he's green.
Right.
You know, it's very cool.
That's awesome. It's awesome.
Pretty rules heavy, but fun.
What's going to be even cooler is you're going to get a new codex, and you'll have Crusade specific sections in that codex.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably like
awesome.
we're probably gonna see like specific like level ups.
Yep.
You know, to armies and specific, you know,
I'm stoked.
Injury charts and stuff.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm stoked. It's gonna
pretty
be awesome.
cool.
Yeah. All right, Don, what about you?
So I've been basically only doing RPGs the last couple of weeks. My son and I, for some reason, we haven't been playing on Tabletop Simulator, but we're playing Dark Heresy with a local guy, Kyle, and some other folks. And Dark Heresy, he started us lower than low, and it's been interesting. It's a fun system. So
yeah.
We're playing that.
Of those systems, it is my favorite.
Yeah. And then I had a question about Blackstone Fortress. Because I own it and I haven't really done anything with it yet.
Oh, it's good.
But I understand that actually the solo mode is not terrible.
No, I think you can play that solo just fine.
You can, but there's a lot of games that you can quote unquote play them solo, but they're not very good solo.
I know my buddy Swen has been doing that, and he's been really enjoying it.
I mean, it's kind of sad.
Cool. I'm going to try it out though. I mean,
actually,
I bought,
you know what? To be honest with you, Adon, on Tabletop Simulator 2, they have a full-on version on Tabletop Simulator. Right? So if you want to play with your son or something, like totally good version there.
Nice.
I bought one of those Fulmoroid crushers from Warcry to use because you can actually do a solo Warhammer Underworld scenario with it. Yeah. And I bought it and built it all like in the space of 2 hours.
Oh, nice.
But because I'm looking at, different solo gaming options.
Sure.
And so I was wondering about Blackstone Fortress because I heard people say you can play it solo. I just didn't know if it was actually any good solo.
I mean, all those games I think are more fun with friends, but
sure.
In a pinch, sure.
In a pinch,
it's totally playable solo.
Play with yourself, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway,
no
so
judgment.
I've been also a lot of role-playing games, Adon. Doug is running a Warhammer Fantasy role-playing game, the new version, with myself and Ed and Blake and Travis.
Do you like the new one? Fun. This is the one from Soulbound. Is that what it's called?
I don't know if it's from Soulbound. It's the Warhammer Fantasy roleplay from Cubicle 9 Entertainment.
Yeah.
It's not the Age of Sigmar one.
Oh, it's not the AOS one.
This is Warhammer
the fantasy one.
roleplay.
The fantasy one.
Before the old
world.
one.
Got it.
And Doug is just a huge fan of the old world and knows it in and out. And so we've had a lot of fun with that game. I'm running Horror on the Orient Express for my Call of Cthulhu, group.
Nice.
We've gone, probably 15 sessions now. Like,
wow.
The players are really enjoying it. Austin dropped out. His character got so messed up. He was going to be in the hospital for months. And so he was going to make a new character, and then he's just so busy. He's just like, I really should just go ahead and drop out at this point. And I was like, it's totally fine. And so Travis has now jumped in. So we're sticking with our 4-player group, but just great game. Like I'm such a fan of that role-playing game. And then D&D, my kids group, literally the group my kid is in, one of their friends is running the game for the first time. So we're just kind of playing through a 3-session.
Yeah, we're still doing our D&D kind of family campaign as well.
Yeah,
it's fun. It's a fun way to do it.
I'm struggling with D&D.
I know you are.
Yeah,
we were trying something. Some of the end game guys were playing this one. We call it the hippie games. There's no dice involved.
I'm not interested.
Use playing cards and stuff like that.
I like dice.
Much more nerd. But it's Napoleonic British soldiers. Anyway.
I'm out.
I won't go into it. Yeah, I know.
That's not.
You
That's
really
not
have to be a
period.
grognard.
But I did also get a 9th edition game in against Jody.
All the pictures of that.
Boom. Yeah, and man, did we have a great time against his orcs, my 1,000 Sons. We did 1,000-point game because I had the points list.
What kind of alternate reality are you guys are using points and I'm using power level?
Would have loved to have used
gyroscope
power level.
just shift.
But we used the points from. Well, we didn't do Crusade either.
That's true. Yeah.
But they had GW sent a copy of the new points over, and so we put together our lists and then played. I've always struggled against orcs. I know that they just get up in my face really fast. My Predator with las cannons and my Dreadnought with las cannons were doing a lot of damage to his large mechs.
Yep.
Right.
I took one out, was working on the other one. He gets some bikes around. He charges my Predator. And I said, well, I'm going to spend the point on Overwatch.
Yep.
3 6s and a 5.
Ooh.
With las cannons into his bikes. And I just vaporized his
Such
bikes.
a big change to Overwatch.
And were you able to use any of the blast weapon rules?
No, I didn't have any blast weapons out there. But that was pretty awesome. And we were, I mean, it's the only thing that went right for me. That's not true. But he did pretty much dust me. I mean, the game we were playing, there were 4 objectives on the table. And if you held these 2, you got more points than holding these 2. And each one was also worth a point. And it was a cumulative point growth. Yeah. And I couldn't get him off the objectives fast enough because he just had so many guys. But by the end of the game, I had 3 models on the table and he had maybe 6, 7 models left on the table. Like we had destroyed each other.
Yeah, 9th edition is bloody.
But he just caught up the points. I just couldn't.
And that was a 1,000-point game.
That was 1,000 points. Yeah. It was super fun though.
Now, so 9th edition, they use the kind of the Age of Sigmar style, plant the flag in the objective. You don't have to stay there.
Sometimes.
Right? There's secondary objectives which have that in it, which is kind of interesting. Right. And they have this concept of like you take actions sometimes where planting that flag takes an action. You can't do anything else. You just plant that flag.
Right.
But not every objective is like that.
Oh, okay.
Yep. No. But it is very objective, like board control. Most of the missions are. Yeah.
One of the nice things they cleaned up too was objectives are on 40 millimeter bases and you measure from the edge of the base.
Boom.
Thank you so much.
Done.
Finally, why did that take 9 editions for us to get to?
And vehicles being able to shoot into combat. And. Yeah,
the vehicle firing, in its firing phase in close combat when it's got combatants around it was hugely helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And it's at a minus, but it's still great. It was great.
And morale too. I noticed morale.
The morale rules are really different.
Improved. Like there's times where his Grotz unit, for example, or even his boys units, they were like taking morale on like -10 or something. In the old rules, they would have all disappeared.
You just lost 10 guys.
Now
whatever
he loses 3 or 4 out of the. It's so much less And
it's not cumbersome.
No,
like it's pretty straightforward.
Totally.
Yeah. Yep. So I gotta say, so far 9th edition's killing it for us, and
we're one game in.
Happy about it. Yeah. Well,
one game in.
I'm sold.
The future, you had me at 9th.
I was really worried about whether you'd be sold on it or not, Carl.
You had me at, do you want to play? Yes.
I mean, I'm sure we're going to find things that we're not fans of.
Of course.
I mean, I have yet to find.
As long as it's fun, that's all that matters to me. So let's do this. Let's take a break. Then we're going to come back and we're going to leap into our second Champions of 40K Heroes of the Imperium. And we'll kind of go through all the ones that we're impressed with. So we will be right back.
Hey guys, I'm Caleb.
And this is Kat.
And we are CK Studios. We want to invite you and your friends to come paint with us at one of our exciting and fun-filled airbrush and hobby weekenders. Our weekend workshops are 2 days of intense hands-on training, working directly with and learning from some of the top gaming artists in the industry.
Whether you're brand new to miniature painting or an experienced veteran that wants to up your game, CK Studios has the workshop for you. Our workshops cover everything from learning the basics and building confidence in airbrushing, all the way up to creating that centerpiece model for your army or display case.
For more class info and our upcoming schedule, you can find us on Facebook at CK Studios Come Paint With Us, or register directly at ckstudios.bigcartel.com.
If you can't find a class near you, that's okay. Just contact us and we'll bring a workshop to you.
All right, so we are back, and hopefully you've heard our first episode about this, Champions of 40K, Heroes of the Imperium. This is Heroes of the Imperium 2.
Part 2.
We have these...
The remix.
We have picked these not based on any criteria other than what we think is cool. Right. And it really has nothing to do with they're great on the table, or maybe it does. It's up to you, right? For each of us, like there was no criteria like pick the best shooting model, or but sure. You know, I mean that's the most
not points efficient character or whatever.
Yeah, it's nothing about that. This is all about like the characters within the universe, and then how they play on the table. What do you think of them, and why do you think they're cool? And it was a struggle for Justin because he's not a big Imperium guy.
Yeah, but you know, I appreciate a lot of the Imperial lore, even though I don't have many Imperial armies. Yeah. Like I definitely appreciate their lore.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll kind of go round robin here, and we're first going to talk about, this is our first round. So there's 2 rounds. Our first round picks, and you know what? I'll go last. We'll go with Justin first.
Sure.
Justin, who did you pick, and who are they?
I went for Ragnar Blackmane.
Okay.
And this guy is, I mean, what's not to like about this guy, right? I mean, and I remember reading lore on him back in like 2nd edition, and these stories of him just, you know, single-handedly taking out Carnifexes and throwing crack grenades down the gullets and watching them explode. I mean, he's just the ultimate, you know, BA, right?
Mm-hmm. So who is he?
He's not a BA. He's not a Blood Angel.
He is the youngest Wolf Lord amongst the Space Wolves.
That's right.
Okay, there you go.
That's right. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Adan, who did you pick? Who are you going to go into?
I picked Lord Castellan Ursarkar E. Creed of the Astra Militarum. Now, not General Ursarkar Creed, because there was 2 of them.
Uh-huh.
This is Ursarkar E. Creed. I thought it was a cool little thing they threw in that book. But anyway, he's the Lord Castellan of the Astra Militarum on Cadia during the 13th Black Crusade and the fall of Cadia.
Yeah, it's almost as if you've been reading a book about that lately.
Yes, right. Yeah. Well, I actually read the book. I got the book after I decided this is what I want to talk about.
Okay. Well, I picked Ephrael Stern, and she is,
of course,
the Sister of Battle of the Order of the Martyred Lady originally, but now she's kind of hunted as a bit of a rogue, and has developed some psychic powers and such based on her adventures. And we'll talk about that in a little bit.
So those of you who had Adan picking Sisters of Battle on their bingo card, you just lost.
Adan. So why'd you pick? Or actually, let's go, Justin. Why'd you pick this guy?
He's just so awesome.
What appeals to you about him?
I mean, I gotta say, I've always loved his model because I'm a model guy first. You know, even back in the day, his model's awesome, which we're gonna jump to. But really, like the lore on him is, you know, when I think of Heroes of the Imperium, you know, this guy he's got it all, right? Mm-hmm. And he's kind of had a lot of trials and tribulations through his lore. You know, it hasn't always been, you know, roses and unicorns. But for the most part, like he's the youngest Space Wolf to become a Wolf Lord of one of the companies. He's basically,
what do they call them? They don't call them companies. They call them fangs. No,
they're great companies.
They're companies.
They do call them. They call them great companies. That's right. Okay.
And he's basically second in power only to the Great Wolf, Logan himself, and Niall Stormcaller. He is just known for his ferocity and just being able to just take out unknown foes and just goes berserk and just takes out everything within his path. But he also has this kind of sixth sense about him. You know, he's got this, you know, Space Wolves are known for having acute senses, right? And sense of smell, sense of hearing. But this guy always has that kind of almost psychic power ability to sniff things out.
Like a sixth sense.
Like a sixth sense, exactly.
Right.
And just a BA on the tabletop and in the lore. Like there's like 10 novels written on him, and I need to read more of them. But the stories I have read on him, he's just truly impressive.
Cool.
When you create a Viking inspired chapter, GW is like, let's write about Vikings. And there's so much you can do with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I actually really like Space Wolves. Like I can't tell you how many times I owned a Space Wolf army for a while and then sold it.
Drunken Space Wolf purchase.
That was not
remember
drunk.
that.
They're the only Imperial army that I own.
It was not drunken. It was from somebody who went in with both feet and then decided they didn't like the game. They got a hell of a deal.
Oh, right.
What about you, Adan?
So
Creed.
Yeah, so it's kind of I picked him because I was going through this big case I had that has all my Mordians in it, and I have one of the Creed models. Mm-hmm. And I remember at the time when I first was doing it, I was like, Creed, he seems kind of two-dimensional. But the way that they kind of fleshed him out in the Rise of the Primarch, where he fought with Celestine and Greyfax and Call and Highfell from the Space Wolves, talking about Space Wolves. I got a little bit more sense of him. I started to really be a little bit more interested in him. And then as I started doing more research about him, and I really like his story because he came up through the ranks. He was not one of those aristocrats who buys his commission kind of a thing. And his friendship with Color Sergeant Kell, which is a model that they're often, you kind of play them together, kind of reminded me of Sean Bean's, Sharps Rifles TV show, where he stays really good friends with his Color Sergeant. And then his backstory, where he kind of idolized this Space Marine who came and kind of pulled him out of the fire. It was a Black Templar. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And he ended up kind of through his career fighting all these different, the Hrud and Ulthwé Eldar and Chaos Space Marines. He just kind of over and over and over. And then, as I said, his story, which kind of piqued my interest initially, was in the Rise of the Primarch.
Yeah.
And that fight where, he gets his arm cut off and kind of gets snatched up at the end. And
yeah,
he's just really cool. And I started out with this thing, many years ago when I first started buying the Mordians, thinking, this two-dimensional kind of not really interesting character. And I really have changed my mind. And so that's why I picked him.
Cool. I picked Ephriel Stern because, first off, a huge fan. You heard me talking earlier in the show about Demonifuge and how I was upset I had missed the 20th edition of it. That was kind of one of the first graphic novels I ever read for Warhammer 40K.
I think I own that.
It's so good.
The artwork's phenomenal.
It is so cool. And, you have this Sister of Battle who goes through several trials and tribulations and is working at some point with an Inquisitor. And, she's really this kind of tragic hero that ultimately, as you watch her kind of evolve, she's thought of as corrupted, and then it's proven she's not corrupted, but then other things happen that make her, make the Imperium hunting her, but Chaos is trying to hunt her too. Because
the mere fact that she was a sister with psychic powers, that's like
she develops the psychic powers through these adventures, and then in addition to that, she's been to the Black Library, so Chaos is trying to hunt her down.
Yeah, layers of detail.
Yeah, it was such a great story, and it really captured a lot of excitement of 40K for me that, and the new model, again, which we'll talk about soon, came out. And so I felt like, about time, they did a model for this character.
Great impetus for this. Yeah.
Yeah. And even though she's truly a servant of the Emperor, like she's hunted and kind of ostracized. And I dig that. Like I dig that kind of underdog kind of thing. So that's what really appealed to me about her. So now let's talk the models. Justin. You were just saying how you were going to bring it up.
Yeah, so he's had two versions. Mm-hmm. I mean, almost kind of three in a way, because like the Rogue Trader model is very reminiscent of him, but that was very like when it came out, it wasn't supposed to be Lehman Russ.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Man, it's like, man, them Primarchs got the good steroids over the years. But really, he's had two sculpts. The first one was in second edition by our boy Jess Goodwin, and so it's still a good sculpt.
You just picked him so you could say his name again.
No, that's just he's the Godfather. And I mean, the model still to this day, he's just got that static second edition feel, and he's not a Primaris Marine that's sculpted in plastic and leaping off a giant rock and playing tennis like the new one is.
But he is very flat. Like it's
the original
spin casting has him in that singular plane.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
But like the quality of the miniature, like there's still really good detail sculpted in, and obviously that model was pretty much carbon copied but updated, like many of his sculpts with the one that Darren Latham did. Yeah. With the new model, and the new miniature is just phenomenal. I mean,
playing tennis.
Oh, you haven't seen that meme?
No, I've seen it.
Playing tennis with Gaskell. I mean,
but this is the crossing the Rubicon version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of makes sense for him. I mean, if I get him, I'll probably have him with a bolt pistol out, I think.
Yeah.
Or something different. The outstretched hand is
you would alter the model to get that.
Just the hand. That's the only thing. Because it's like, okay, he's just scratching at you. Like, rah. I'd rather see him like blasting somebody in the face, and then, because he does have he has a bolt pistol.
Yeah.
But all in all, though, like the face on that model is just ferocious and has so much character. And seeing, I know a lot of people. I wouldn't say a lot. I know some people are not a fan of the whole Primaris thing, but like you look at a model like the new Logan or the new Ragnar, and you're like, how can you not appreciate that? It's so much bigger and beefier, and so
and detailed.
And detailed,
yeah.
And
well, I think there's just people who are not real taken with the idea that all of them are able to cross with no issue.
Sure.
Yeah, like
people want to see some of them die.
Like I said, I think it's time for some of the old guard to get replaced, right?
Yeah.
Well, because it's supposed to be a very dangerous process, so let's show that.
Yeah. So far, it's 100% success.
Yeah, so far.
I like the model. I'm not a fan of models on bases.
I cut him off that, and I bring him down.
Yeah.
Like when I get to my Drazhar, he's coming off that 4-inch tall Eldar thing. And,
I'm just not as huge a fan of that.
But the thing is, the beauty of the era we're in, it's plastic.
And you can cut it.
You cut that off, you clip it, and if your friend's like, oh, you're modeling for advantage because he doesn't come on that 4-foot tall, it's like
4-foot tall base.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. You do you.
Yeah. No, I think it's a beautiful model. I really, really appreciate
his face in particular. That is such a well done. You can even see
the fangs in the teeth.
The grimace, the emotion.
The stuff they're getting away with the plastics now just blows my mind.
They're no longer like emotionless.
Oh, no.
There's so much character in that CAD design they can do now.
Yep. Adan, what about you?
So I'm only aware of one model, and it's the one where he's kind of standing there with his arms akimbo, with the great coat over his shoulders.
And the stogie.
He's got his stogie. Yeah, he's got the stogie. And
the squat head.
He is Doug in the 41st Millennium.
Doug's handsomer than this guy.
He is. He's also not as
this guy
thick.
looks like he has an ogren face.
That boy thick.
Kind of.
He's
yeah.
thick.
He's pretty rugged.
I like the dual pistols though.
Yeah.
I got I actually have one. The one I have, he's been modified with a Mordian style cap on him. Because I use him kind of generically as a Mordian, because he's Acadian. You have to play him as Acadian if you're going to play the actual special character. But I would love to see a new version of him, because the the Rise of the Primarch, he gets kind of grabbed by some kind of scaled creature. I don't even know what it is, but he loses an arm in the story. I'd love to see a one-armed version of him. Yeah, with the arm of his coat kind of stapled up, like they do they show in some of the like Civil War things you see with the uniform stapled up.
Or
even with the bionic.
I know what you're talking about. Like the coat arm is long, right? But they fold it up and sew it. Yeah.
Is that model still available, Adan?
Boy, I don't know.
Oh wow, I don't know. It would. I'm sure it would have to be.
It'd be fine. It'd be fine cast.
Yeah.
Or he's in the book though.
Could be made to order.
He's probably made to order, but he's in the book, so you have to be able to special order him, because they won't have rules for something they don't sell.
Yeah, that is true.
So
that is true.
He's got to be. I would love to see a new version of him that's not like you were saying in a single plane.
Yeah. He is still for sale. He's $25.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, and he is of course
fine cast.
No, I'm sorry, a detailed resin cast.
Right.
Although I'll bet you with this guy, you don't have a lot of problems with the fine cast.
Well, no, because it's like I said,
he's just a block.
Yeah. I actually have two of them. I think I have the regular one and the one with the hat on it.
Interesting. Okay.
He also though he has one of those poses where there's some sculpts and there's some there's some models where that kind of works. Like I'm okay with him being like surveying the battlefield.
Oh, yeah, I know. His pose is solid. Like if you were to update this guy into plastic, like I would hope they would keep a similar pose.
I'm sure they would.
Right, but if they were to update him, he would have like 1 foot up on this big boulder.
Yeah, maybe like on. Forward to break.
But that would, I think that would be okay too. But like he definitely looks like, as I look at the site with the picture of him, it's like he's in charge.
Yeah,
right.
Like he looks in charge. Yeah, it's pretty cool. His face is all scarred up and stuff. It's pretty cool. I got to imagine you would be if you were upper level.
Yeah, fighting your whole life.
Well, also because he came up through the ranks. He was not some highborn guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
How about you, Carl? What's your thoughts on the
model?
Ephrael Stern?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'd like to hear about this.
Unfortunately, I'm not super blown away with it.
There's head swaps for a reason.
There are head swaps for a reason. I'm not a fan of the hair, for one.
It's weird.
I get what they're trying to do.
You know what they're doing, yeah.
Yeah, she's like descending, from.
Well, it's the cover of the book.
Yeah. Which in that one, it's pretty close to the cover of the book. Yeah.
Yeah.
I struggle with that.
You know what I see when I look at her face?
I struggle with her face.
Chucky.
I see that.
It can't be unseen.
You know what? Now that you've said that, you bastard. I am now stuck with that in my head. It's unfortunate because I love this character, but I'm not a fan of the face. The armor looks freaking fantastic.
Yeah, the armor is amazing. Yeah.
I'm tempted to put a helmeted on there or a yeah. I mean, you can't just do a normal sister because her hair is just a bob and it would look weird. Not flowing.
You had the sister's box, right? So you have helmets.
I got plenty of sisters.
Do one of the ones with the helmets with the visor open.
Might actually
showing motion, which is coming down.
That might actually be really awesome. That might be really awesome.
I mean, hair is relatively easy to resculpt and move around a little bit.
A couple wires and some green stuff,
and a couple triangles, and you're good. Actually, it is of the things to sculpt. Like hair and chains are actually not that hard, even to the point where I can do it in green stuff. But I see what they were going for. It doesn't really work for me.
The really interesting thing about that duo as well, because it's sold as a 2-part box, as we alluded to, is that like she's all super dynamic and jumping, and the Harlequin's just like, I'm standing on some squares. He's just
Kaiganel. Actually, he's like coming through like a
little like webway portal.
Domino.
It looks like a domino field.
I think it looks awesome.
I think it's cool too. It would have been nice to see them both because they're a duo. Like have them both action packed.
That would make sense.
Again, they're taking it from the cover art, so they're kind of staying.
Is he in the cover art? He's not in the cover art though.
Well, I think it's the first time. Is it the first time you see him?
Oh, I don't recall.
It looks like it's a scene from the book, I think.
Interesting. Okay, that would make more sense.
Dang it! Now I totally see the Chucky face.
My memory of Kaiganel or Kiganel, or however you pronounce it, was like he was almost more like a corsair. Like he was more armored up a little bit. But I'd have to go back and read the books.
Yeah,
I just don't remember him looking like that, especially with the COVID haircut.
The hair and face I struggle with a bit. Like I see what they were doing, it just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I mean that's where I'm at with Kaiganel. I'm gonna cut that head off and.
Oh, you don't like his head, huh?
No, it's going off. Cause I'm gonna convert him into a like a Harlequin troop master or a solitaire or something.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome too, and the paint job they've done on these guys is phenomenal. Of course, but yeah. So this is the only model that's been produced of her to date, and so I was super excited about it. Like I think the Eisenhorn model is a fantastic representation of Eisenhorn.
Young Eisenhorn.
This one, there are things I like about it, but it's just a head that I don't really care for.
Easily fixed.
Yeah, I can fix that, and that's fine. But I see why they did it. Again, it just doesn't work for me. So anyway, I think it comes in a 2-pack for a reason, as we'll talk about in a little bit. But I'm less interested in her and Kaiganel than I am her. So yeah. Anyway, so that's the models. Let's talk a little bit about the rules for each of these characters.
Oh yeah,
Justin, you want to go first?
Ooh boy, this guy is a beat stick.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is
on another level. Like he just looks like he would absolutely match the lore, like 1,000%. I mean, once he got Primarist, he got +1 strength and +1 wound and yada yada yada. But he's got Battle Lust, which allows friendly units to consolidate 6 if they're not within 3, because that like nice. Whatever he's leading is gonna butcher face. Like they're gonna chop down a bunch of enemies, and chances are there's not gonna be anything within 3 inches. So he can do his little battle howl, and they all consolidate in 6 inches to slaughter some more.
Yeah.
Nice.
He's got War Howl, which reroll charges for all wolf units within 6.
That is huge.
It is big.
Yeah. He's got Jarl of Fenris, reroll 1s for attacks within 6. So he's like a captain.
So basically like a captain. Yeah.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah.
Berserker Rage. He's got +3 attacks instead of the +1 from Shock Assault. He comes stock with, I believe, 7 attacks.
Yeah.
So he's sitting on 10 attacks. He's got
and his weapon's no joke.
He's got a 4++, which is respectable, and I want to say he's got 6 wounds. Frostfang, his blade is +2 strength.
So he's at strength 6?
At strength
7?
6.
Okay.
6, yeah.
Neg 4 AP and 2 damage with
Negative.
10 attacks rerolling 1s.
-4 AP.
It's a melt-a-sword.
And I have to imagine there's some stratagems too that can make him even nastier.
He's just gonna plow into anything. You know what? But his thing is he kills monstrous creatures.
Right.
He kills everything
clearly. But like this is what it takes to kill a monstrous creature, right?
Yeah. And you read the lore and
charge into some Tyranid, Carnifex and just rip it to pieces.
Yeah.
Or Gaskell.
Yeah.
I mean, he is just an absolute beatstick, phenomenal model, and I've just been, I got a little inspired by. I was instantly hitting up Chris like, hey, did you pick up that box with the wolves and the orcs? Because I know he wanted Gaskell. I just want to paint him, even if I don't go full stupid and do a little combat patrol of wolves or whatever, Primaris wolves. I do have Indomitus on the way.
What's so nice is you can do a kill team, and if you like it, then do a combat patrol.
Or a crusade
like
list. Full of blood claws.
Yeah.
So yeah, he is absolutely boss mode. And yeah, I'm just super stoked on him.
All right. Adan, how about you?
So Kree's rules aren't super
dated,
inspiring.
Yeah.
I don't think. I mean, he's not a lot of points. And he does allow to do 3 orders at 12 inches, which is substantially more. But in the 8th edition rules, I don't know how it's going to play out in 9th edition, but he can add 2 command points to your army, which that's always a nice thing.
That's
and he's
big,
only
yeah.
55 points, so adding 2 command points and having 3 orders, that is not bad at all. And if I played Cadians, I would definitely take him as a commander.
Sure.
Since I'm playing Mordians, I just, like I said, I take him, use him as a generic commander. But as a Cadian leader, the 2 command points and the 3 orders, I think, is a really good combo for 55 points. I mean, he's firing 2 bolt pistols. It's not like he's a beast himself. He's a commander.
He's a backfield
that's the role.
character.
That's the role he plays.
Yeah, backfield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
And are there still rules for Krell?
Color Sergeant Krell died.
So no, huh? He never got 8th edition loving?
No.
Because that model is super cool too.
Yeah. Oh, I have the model. Yeah, but you have to just use him as a banner bearer now.
That's sad.
All right.
Yeah, it is.
I know he died, but
yeah.
So Ephrael Stern.
I love this.
Yeah, 7-inch movement rate, not too shabby. She's pretty quick. 2+ weapon skill, 3+ ballistic skill.
This is the next stats are the ones that just surprised me.
Strength 4, toughness 4, wounds 6, attacks 4.
Sister of battle at strength 4, toughness 4 is
significant.
Yeah.
Leadership 9 and a 3+ save. Okay.
No invul.
No. No. But she has sanctity, which is her sword, her melee weapon, which is +1 strength. So now she's hitting it for strength 5.
Yeah.
-3 AP, 2 damage.
That's good.
On 4 attacks, out of the gate. That's not too bad at all.
Hitting on 2s.
But here's where she really kicks ass. So in the story, as we'll talk about later, she actually acquires equivalent of a psychic power, the Demonifuge. And but it doesn't play as a psychic power.
Right.
This is an interesting thing because at the start of your shooting phase, you roll 2d6, adding 2 to the result. If there are any chaos units within 18 inches of Ephrael Stern on a 5+, the nearest enemy unit that is within the 18 inches of and visible to her suffers a D3 mortal wounds. If the result's 9 or more, suffers a D6 mortal wounds. So it's like a smite, can't be stopped.
And
you can't
+2 testing against their morale.
No, you're just rolling.
No, you're just rolling 2d6.
Yeah.
And so you get
on a 5 or better.
I got you.
So it's a smite without being a psychic power.
That's pretty
It can't
good.
deny the witch it. And basically it's used before she runs into combat.
Yeah, not bad.
And what makes it really deadly for Chaos, because it's 2d6 just flat, but if it's Chaos units, you add that 2.
Right.
And so all you have to do is roll a 3 on 2d6.
And you
I mean,
succeed.
even I can do that most of the time.
And here comes Arya.
Yeah.
Oh, we're talking about Space Wolves.
There you go.
So naturally,
Oh, there she is.
Space
I
Wolf
wish I wouldn't let her out here while we're recording, but okay. Yeah, that's a great point, Adan, that she, we're just talking about the Chaos where she gets the +2. Without that, she still can do this against anything. Right?
Yeah, it's still a 5-up.
Yeah.
Which is not bad at all.
Yeah. So here's the other thing. And this is where I was talking to you, Justin, about the coming as a pack. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they have the title Wanderers. Neither her nor Kaiganel can be your warlord. And in addition, during deployment, you can set these models up in the webway so they can deep strike in. Cool. And if you do so at the end of your movement phase, you set them up on the battlefield within 3 inches of each other and more than 9 inches away from enemy models. So, okay, that's cool.
That is actually really cool.
Yeah. But also if they're that, I don't remember the distance specifically, it's 3 or 6 inches. If they're that close to each other, he basically provides her a 5+ invuln. Hey, she takes a wound on a 5-up, you ignore the wound.
Is it a feel no pain or is it an invuln save?
It's not an invuln. It's ignore the wound.
Feel no
she
pain.
Takes a wound.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, so now I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. Maybe I need both these models.
Yeah, and I haven't read the Harlequin's rules, but I know on the Harlequin little Facebook page, people were kind of down on him, and of course bummed that it didn't go both ways.
Right.
We had our first Harlequin model released, and it's only for the Imperium.
I think it's great about that.
They got a little bit of a point. Go ahead.
What's really great about that is that it is not a 5+ invuln save. So that, let's say it's a 3 damage weapon. You're not taking 1 5+ save, and then she takes 3 wounds. No, she gets a 5+ save against each individual wound.
Correct.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Correct.
Unless she gets hit by mortal wounds.
It doesn't say any wounds.
No, I'm saying like if she gets hit by a smite or something, then she's not going to get a save. Oh, any wounds?
Yeah. She takes the wounds, and then she ignores the wound. Oh, mortal wounds don't matter.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
got you. Yeah.
Pretty sweet.
Not bad.
Pretty sweet. Okay, so let's talk about where you can read, like what supplements is this hero represented in? Both Studio and Forge World supplements. So Justin, what about you?
He's been around.
He's been around a while,
long time. Yeah, from
everywhere.
2nd edition to 8th edition, and of course he just got his new rules after being Primarist with that Orky Space Wolf box set that came out.
Yep.
So that's the main way, of course, you're going to take him. The only way you're going to take him is with those new beefed up, insane rules. Mm-hmm. Why would you not? He's also been in Imperial Armor 13.
Oh, is he?
Imperial Armor, apparently. Yeah. Imperial Armor Volume 2.
13 is the Chaos one.
Probably just had like a little tidbit in there. Mentioned him. Prophecy of the Wolf, where you can get the new model with Gaskell that's mentioned. Yep. Sanctus Reach, Hour of the Wolf. Mm-hmm. And Warzone Fenris, Curse of the Wolfen. So he gets around. Yeah,
he's been around a bit. Adan?
Creed is basically in every codex. He's one of the Cadian linchpin characters, and he's also in Rise of the Primarch in terms of the current lore. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting because a lot of people from Cadia think he's gone forever. They don't know about his fight with the assisting with the Primarch and the
they all got
Celestine
separated, fleeing Cadia, right? The ones that were able to get off the planet,
right? And so the last anybody remembers of him, the normal Cadians, was they saw him in the Elysian Fields right before the Blackstone Fortress fell. So they all think he's dead,
right?
And he's not really, but we don't really know where he's at. And so I'm interested to see how they bring him back.
Okay.
So he'll cross the Rubicon. He'll be like Big Creed.
Nice. So Ephriel Stern is in the latest Psychic Awakening, the one with the
Pariah.
The Pariah.
Oh, she really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
she's in that one, and then of course you get her box and you get the rules with her in the box.
But she's not in the book. She's not in the Sisters Codex.
That's my question. Yeah, not at all.
Yeah,
she's not. So, and then Black Library examples of this hero.
Yeah, Ragnar's all over the place.
Yeah, he is. And let me tell you, he was one of my first introductions to Black Library stuff. I think I had read Graham McNeil's Ultramarine stuff prior to reading the Ragnar stuff. Mm-hmm. The Ragnar stuff is a hard read.
Is it?
Yeah.
See, Arya knows that we're talking about the wolves.
Yeah,
She's
I'm kicking
excited.
her out of here. Go ahead.
So he's been in a ton of novels. He's been in Space Wolf by William King, Wolfblade, as well as Grey Hunter, both by William King, Ragnar's Claw, Sons of Fenris by Lee Leitner, Wolf's Honor by Lee Leitner, and the Warhammer Community Psychic Awakening: The Feast.
So do you know if the William King novels, is that story a continuous story, or are they all separate stories? Do you know?
I believe they're all linked, right, Carl?
Oh, okay.
I remember reading a bit of
most
Space
of those
Wolf.
are all linked. Yeah.
Okay.
All the ones by Bill King are linked for sure.
That's too bad. No, they're not. Okay. They're not the best. Not the. Just kind of.
There's like one where
it's early on,
they're
right?
on Terra and they're like in a bar and he's drinking all this meat in a bar, and I'm like, Space Marines were just hanging around in bars and stuff, and I'm like,
well, the early lore was way different.
Yeah, let's just say that the lore has improved.
To be fair, the Space Wolves still get their gene seed or a portion of it from drinking ale in the Great Feast.
Yes.
But it's not a bar.
Right.
Stop me if you heard this one.
Yeah.
Ragnar Blackmane walks into a bar. It's just
a Space Wolf, a Blood Angel,
and a Thousand Sun
walk into a bar. Adan.
So Creed is in a bunch of stories, but the main ones that he's in are written by Justin D. Hill, including Cadius Stands and one that's actually titled Ursarkar Creed. Those are the main stories where you're going to actually find his character kind of fleshed out. They talk about him in other books, but those are the ones where he really appears and is well done. And of course, The Rise of the Primarch.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And what did you think about his portrayal in Cadius Stands?
I loved it.
Yeah,
it was one of the things that made me actually appreciate him more as a 3D character instead of just this 2D, commander with a stogie in his mouth.
Single plane.
Yeah.
And I really I like the way that Justin kind of fleshed him out, because he literally kind of fleshed him out, because before he was just this cardboard cutout of a general with a stogie. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think Cadius Stands really puts a lot of flesh on the bones, and same with Ursarkar Creed. I mean, you really get a sense of him as a real human being who's actually had trials and tribulations and things.
Yeah. Well, for me, Ephraim Stern, obviously I've mentioned it a bunch of times now, Demonofuge graphic novel, which was originally a comic series in Warhammer Monthly. And again,
you're going way back in the history.
That's where it started, and then they combined it all into a graphic novel. And now they've obviously released the 20th edition graphic novel, special edition, all colorized, which is what I'm super excited about. Yeah, so
I'm really hoping that she ends up in the animated stuff.
I would love to see that. And honestly, I'd love to see some Black Library books tackling her a bit. I think I think there's a lot there for her to continue
beyond a comic book.
Yeah, for sure. And I would just love to see more about this character. I think it's an interesting character. I think she has a lot more to tell. And she's just wandering around with this guy, just some guy, and
especially when it comes to like the webway and all the weird stuff you can get into with those stories.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, that's where she kind of originates from, and where you can find out more about her.
Cool.
So, favorite story about this hero from Black Library, Codex, Supplement, whatever. What's your favorite story about yours, Ragnar Blackmane?
There's so many. Reading through all, this guy has many sagas.
Yeah, you have chosen the character of these three. You have chosen the character that has literally the most written about him.
Reading through, I'm like, okay, he killed this orc war boss, and then he charged single-handedly into this hive ship and took it out, and then killed this entire Dark Eldar army. But one that I took was kind of speaking more to kind of his, and of course the recent one of him beheading Ghazghkull and, dying. And instead, we can't put him into a dreadnought. Let's Primaris him. And he made it. Yay. That's all cool. But there was one story.
Wait. He got beheaded?
No, he beheaded Ghazghkull.
Ghazghkull.
They stapled Ghazghkull's head back on.
Yeah. I was like, okay, wait.
And then Ragnar, they basically took each other out. He was grievously wounded. And they were like, we could put this guy in a dreadnought. Nope, that's not going to work. Okay, off to the Primaris table.
Okay, got it.
And that kind of sums that up. But one that I picked was kind of like a small little tidbit story, and it kind of spoke to his like sixth sense that we kind of had mentioned before.
Yeah.
And it was The Price of Victory, and this is still when he was a Bloodclaw. This is before he became a Wolf Lord. Mm-hmm. So early on in his history. But basically Ragnar and his Bloodclaw pack are called upon to launch an assault on this world of Heneloth, where rebel factions have staged an uprising in the name of the ruinous powers, as they are wont to do. And it's clear that it's Tzeentch at work here, and they're basically struggling to prevent this full worldwide demonic incursion. And Ragnar is forced to basically strike the head off of one of his own. He kills one of his own rune priests because this guy was just acting crazy and something wasn't quite right with him, and he was kind of leading them into one disaster after the other. So almost on a whim, he beheads the sorcerer.
Oh my God.
And the sorcerer, when he dies, all the glamours come off of him, and he's a Tzeentchian sorcerer. So all along, Tzeentch had infiltrated the wolves, and we're basically almost going to get taken out from this. And even after that, and it kind of shows how interesting the Space Wolves are, that even after that, they were still kind of like, you didn't have any proof. You just kind of went off feeling to kill this guy. So after that, he was known as Ragnar Packslayer. And this is, again, early on in his career.
Yeah.
And again, it's just really interesting to see that side of a character, which it goes beyond. Like, does he have some kind of psychic ability that goes beyond just being a space wolf? Like, he must have some innate psychic ability to sense something is amiss, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that's really interesting about its story is that was written a while ago. That's not one of the new stories, right?
Mm-mm. Oh, no, this is like one of the little tidbit stories in his lore.
Right. And so that combined with the burning of Prospero Thousand Suns novels, and a Thousand Sun sorcerer infiltrating back into the Space Wolves, it's really cool.
Kind of how full circle.
It all comes circular, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I just thought it was really cool. Kind of added a little depth to him, and how even somebody as heroic as this guy is, and had the ultimate respect, even as a Bloodclaw, is now early on in his career being known as Packslayer. Almost like a little Karn the Betrayer,
right.
lore tidbit in there, which I had never heard of.
All right, Adan, what about you?
So one of the things I liked about this guy is kind of his kind of full circle story, and that his full circle is actually in association with the Black Templars. Mm-hmm. You'll sense a theme as we go later into the show. But, like I was saying, early on in his life, he gets kind of rescued by a Black Templar, and he talks, the story talks about him having this impression of this huge warrior with the cross on his tabard and the whole bit. And then as it comes around towards what is the end of the story as we know it so far with him, is one of the people he's fighting alongside with is Almeric, who's actually the Emperor's champion of the Black Templars, and actually Almeric, wounds Skarbrand with the black sword, right? Mm-hmm. And that was kind of what turned the battle. And I liked how they kind of rounded him out he had this journey that kind of doubled back on itself. He started kind of his association with going towards becoming a hero of the Empire, or the Emperor, with the Black Templars, and then his story basically ends, as far as we know, fighting alongside the Black Templars. So I love that kind of. I always like seeing that kind of cycle happen. And because it was written by different people, and the story kind of took different turns, you kind of get a sense of, ooh, this person, maybe they pulled a tidbit from that, and this person pulled a tidbit from that, and they tied the stories together. And I thought it was really cool.
Poor Skarbrand. That guy has no luck.
Just very angry.
Anything that involves the black sword, I'm always big on that.
Yeah, that's where the tie-in comes, the Black Templars.
Yeah. So for
Black
me,
sword.
Ephrail Stern, so again, there's kind of really only one story that she's part of. It actually breaks it up into two different stories, but I'll kind of just talk about her kind of beginning portions, because I don't want to spoil the whole story for somebody who hasn't read it at this point. But one of the interesting things about this character to me is they do that whole kind of Jason Bourne thing in a way, right? I like the whole,
absolutely,
you've lost your memory and you don't know what's going on. And basically what ends up happening is, first off, she's super talented, right? She was basically born into the order. She she rises through the ranks very, very quickly, becoming, a seraphim in record time. And then 3 years later, she becomes a sister superior. So super, the ultimate sister of battle.
A lot of promise.
Well, yeah,
a lot of promise.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. A lot of promise. So what ends up happening is she gets sent on this mission on behalf of the Order to kind of go find this convent of sisters that has gone missing on this planet called Parnas. And it turns out, she and a bunch of sisters arrive, and they find out there's a greater demon of Slanesh there, a keeper of secrets, and he had destroyed the convent there. And when they show up, he starts hunting them down and killing them. And the sisters that he had destroyed first, he'd lock them in this thing called the Screaming Cage. It was like this construct of living flesh where they had to like share their forced torment the whole time.
It was pretty creepy.
Yeah, it's pretty, as Slanesh is, right? And then, so what ends up happening is Ephrael Stern gets killed by the Keeper of Secrets, but the sisters that are still in this cage, they the demon didn't take into account just how strong their faith in the Emperor was.
Sweet.
And they basically pour this faith into her and resurrect her. But in the process, she gets away. But in the process, she loses her memory. And then when she returns, you have a situation where like all the sisters got wiped out, and then she comes back, and
they're like, well, okay,
and she's
what
the only
happened?
one.
Yeah.
And they're like, what happened? She's like, I don't know. And she gets kind of locked in a cell for 3 years.
Like, sure you
where
don't.
she's writing stuff on walls and they're like, we should execute her. She's corrupted. No, she's not. She goes through all these painful tests, and finally they come out and say, okay, she has no corruption. She gets reinstated, and this Inquisitor, Silas Hand, comes along, and he's like, I want you to go out here with me to where you lost your memory, and we're going to figure out what happened. And so she kind of learns what has happened to her through the whole story, which is kind of cool. And then there's some big twists. I kind of want to spoil it, but I'm not going to. So I like the aspect of you're discovering, and I like this in like the Jason Bourne stuff. Like, I don't know who I am, and now I'm figuring out what I already knew.
Sure.
Right.
And then it kind of takes a twist at the end where you're like, no, not a. Cool. And then you have a whole kind of add-on that never really, I think, sees like complete resolution, where like Ahriman is chasing her down and all this stuff. And because she's been to the Black Library and he wants access to it. And so, Ahriman's in the story too. It's pretty badass.
There you go.
So anyway, I'm a huge fan. I think this is one of the best graphic novels I've read in the 40K stuff. And
I just remember the artwork being stellar.
Yeah, it's super good.
Like
I'm excited to see it in color. Yeah. So I can't wait for my copy to arrive. So
the storyline, I mean the way the art is done and the way the writing is done, it is not your typical kind of linear comic book style. No. It is very much kind of 90s graphic novel.
But it's told really well, and the art really complements the story. Where a lot of times you could just have cool art, but every piece of art I felt like was very interesting to the story. So
very cool.
It's quite cool. Well, okay, that's the first part of the show.
Yeah,
let's take a break. It's round one. We're gonna come back. We're gonna talk about round two, because I kind of go a totally different way with that.
Yeah, you do.
All right. Yeah. All right, we'll be right back. All right, and we're back, and we are going into Champions of 40K, Heroes of the Imperium, Part 2. Part 2 of our coverage for number 2. And let's change up. Adan, let's have you go first this go round.
All right.
Who have you chosen for your second round pick?
You may see a theme here.
I am.
I picked High Marshal Helbrecht, who's the current High Marshal or Chapter Master of the Black Templars.
All right.
Chapter.
Justin?
I chose Erasmus Tycho, Captain of the Third Company for the Blood Angels.
Interesting.
Well, Captain of the Third Company, followed by Death Company, Mania, followed by ...
You had a special thanks in there you wanted to throw up?
Yeah, special thanks to Mr. Captain Morgan, Chris Morgan.
Yep.
We were chatting back and forth today, and he gave me a bunch of little insights because he is like the supreme lord of the Blood Angels.
That dude knows everything about
everything. Yeah.
And of course, after talking to him, I'm like, why did I not pick Mephiston? Why did
it's too obvious.
It's too obvious.
It's too obvious.
I was like, I already picked the obvious Ragnar, right?
Yeah.
So I picked him. He's got a lot of really cool little tidbits as we'll get into.
I chose Lord Asterion Moloch, the chapter master of the Minotaur's Space Marines.
You would.
Yeah. The chapter itself, the Minotaur Space Marines, they specialize in fighting Xenos and as well as wayward traders. So like they in particular, they practice fighting other Space Marines themselves.
They're just jacks of all trades.
Yeah, I mean, if they kind of work, like, let me be clear, like, I'm not just talking about traders. Like, they are like, we think you've kind of stepped out of line. The Minotaurs get sent in to deal with them, and they are brutal about it.
That's cool.
And I'll
They're
talk
like a new version of the Space Wolves, who were like the executioners for the Emperor.
Right.
Oh, sure.
And these guys, and he in particular is known for his brutality. So we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Faithful to the core.
Yeah. So okay. So why this hero, Justin? Why the old Tycho?
The first main reason I would say is when I think of Tycho, I think back to like artwork from like back in like the Rogue Trader era, and there was like one piece of artwork that was this golden armored captain with like a full bodied, full face mask, even had the buzz cut, and he's got the halo, and he's standing with all his blood angels behind him, and they're fighting gene stealers. And I always loved that piece of artwork. And then further down the road, I've always kind of had a love of blood angels, which I've never really expressed on this show. So I'm glad I could be open and honest with you guys.
Wait a second.
They're a little chaosy,
No, I've always loved like visually, because I'm a second edition guy. Like the first starter set I got was a second edition box, had the blood angels on the cover.
Right.
So it just harkens back to a lot of like,
I get it.
Memories. And my brother's first main army was blood angels, and I helped him paint them. But really that initial piece of artwork, because I was even asking myself, I'm like, why did I pick Tycho? And I knew he had some kind of interesting lore, but really thinking back, it was like that one piece of artwork from Rogue Trader. It was just really stood out in my mind, kind of like the initial Rogue Trader picture with the crimson fists fighting the orcs all around him. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm not a Blood Angels fan, but one of my favorite pieces of art of all time is a Blood Angels piece of artwork, which is
so good.
It was on the cover of I want to say Altar of War 2, and it's just like these Blood Angels all, how they used to do like these images where you have almost like a pyramid of guys, right? Like you have like the lower guys like fighting, and then you have a guy up top like holding this banner, and they kind of form like this pyramid of people. Yep. In combat, it's supposedly standing on bodies of guys. Right?
I know exactly what piece you're talking about.
That is such a beautiful piece of artwork.
Absolutely.
It's so 40K.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I've always been kind of a sucker for that kind of fall from grace, kind of, from the highest high. And that 40K universe has a bad habit of just humbling you down to nothingness.
Yeah.
And this guy's storyline just is like that personified. And it kind of ties in with the Blood Angels lore, which is very much so that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a huge fan of that piece of artwork.
Yeah.
Adan, how about you?
So for those of you who have not been following along for the last few years, the Black Templars have always been a huge interest for me as a chapter. They were my very first Space Marine chapter that I got. I started with Grey Knights, but the first Space Marine chapter I had was the Black Templars. So, he's always been my guy, right? I mean, he was the chapter master of that chapter. And so, because I had Grey Knights, Sisters of Battle, and Black Templars. Those were the things that I had. The Crusaders, the super faithful, devoted armies. And what's cool about him is that he fought against different Xenos races that actually aren't even represented in the game. Yeah. Because he fought against the Xenarch, which they talk about in the Inquisitor game.
It's a Xenarch.
Yeah. But like I said, you don't really
you don't even know who it is. They just throw that name out there.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
He wiped the Xenarch out of this one thing. And then the other thing was kind of cool that I liked about it is that he fought the Scythar fiends, the Scythar fiends, the Kythar fiends. I don't know how you pronounce it. Cythor.
Okay.
The Scythar fiends, who are in the Ghoul Stars sector of
I love that band
of the galaxy, and Ghoul Stars is where we set one of our big long running endgame campaigns.
Right.
We had a Ghoul Stars campaign, and so the fact that Helbrecht, was fighting through the Scythar fiends in the Ghoul Stars was like, oh yeah, I like this guy. It's awesome.
Got it.
And then he has a really cool connection to the Astra Militarum and Yarick. So, there's, like I said, there's a strong connection between those two heroes that I picked. But the main reason I picked him is because he's the chapter master or high marshal of what
Black
was
Templars.
my very first Space Marine chapter.
makes sense. You love the Black Templars.
Fair enough.
You picked their head guy.
I like Black
That makes
Templars
total
too.
sense.
Honestly, I think they're pretty awesome. So, much like you, the reason I chose Asterion Moloch is he's the chapter master of my Space Marine army.
Right.
After switching from Ultramarines and selling those off to Austin's wife, actually, and then Austin, I had bought these from Ed Brown, who was like, my army is the one that was featured in the Bad Abor pictures, the Imperial armor.
And you don't mean your chapter, you mean your specific
This
model.
army, it was like when you see those pictures that are altered through Photoshop and stuff, in Fall of Orpheus and in the Bad Abor set, that's this army.
It's a slice of Forge World history.
The
And
studio army.
literally, Ed was going to sell it to me for real cheap. And I was like, Ed, this is worth more than that. You can't sell it to me for that much, because he wasn't playing anymore. And
Sure.
he had left Forge World and was off doing other work. And I finally actually told him, okay, this is what I'll pay for it. So, but yeah, I mean, here's the thing I dig about this guy too. His background is kind of mysterious, right? And that's normally kind of dull. It's like, okay, nobody knows who he is. But the interesting thing they kind of allude to here is that this guy is probably not the same guy.
I love this.
He
part.
has like a kind of Dread Pirate Roberts from The Princess Bride going on. Where like, he's been killed probably several times, and then another person just steps in there and is the new Asterion Moloch.
Interesting.
Yeah. At least it's alluded to.
That's kind of a double-edged sword, though, right? Because you're like, that's kind of cool, but at the same time, like it's
okay. It's different than everybody else.
It is different.
And
almost like it's a role, not a person.
Yeah, and as you'll hear when I talk about stories, the Fall of Orpheus is he's brutal in the Fall of Orpheus, just really, really cool. So, and then we'll talk a little bit about his model in a minute, but let's talk about the models of Adan's first.
So the only model for Helbrecht is the one that it's still available. Is he's kind of striding out there with the big old sword, the sword of the High Marshal in his hand as he's striding out there, and he's got that helmet with this cool front piece on it. It's very, very Crusader like.
Yep,
he looks like a 41st millennium incarnation of a 2nd century Crusader. Yeah.
I mean, I think he's pretty good. I think the model holds up pretty well.
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah,
it'll be interesting.
I don't know if they're going to Primaris him or not, but
of course he'll live through that. They all live through that.
He'll be burnt to a crisp and then go, I have an idea. Primaris table.
Well, they could Primarisize Lord Asterion Moloch many times because
that's right.
He died. Stick another guy in there. Hey, guess what? You're new chapter master.
It's easy.
Okay. So very cool. I actually like his model. I think it still stands up. Justin, what about you?
Yeah, I was just going to say, he's one of those models. If this guy does get the Primaris treatment,
he'll be awesome. He would be badass.
Because he is an amazing model already.
Convert like the chaplain a bit. Like he has that kind of chaplain-y kind of take to him in a way.
Yeah, very put some chains on the model. You put that little forehead cross thing on him. Give him the back banner.
I do like the Black Templars quite a bit, Adan. Like I'm not a huge fan of their paint scheme. Like they are named Black Templars, and I get it, but I didn't want to paint that scheme. But I do like, and I like that they're like a fleet-based chapter and stuff. I really dig that about them. Okay. Anyway, Justin, what about your guy here?
Yeah, so he only has one model currently. he was heavily inspired by an old Rogue Trader captain model. Basically the model that was, I don't know if the model came first or the artwork came first, but that Rogue Trader piece where that golden gleaming model is standing at the forefront of those Gene Stealers.
Yeah.
There was a model that you can clearly tell that the quote unquote current sculpt is based off of, minus the fact that he doesn't have a full armored, sculpted face mask. It's now just like a Phantom of the Opera kind of half mask.
Yeah.
Right.
Which we'll go into like reasons why he wears that. But it's an okay model. He's got crispy detail, but he's got that same plane. Mm-hmm. He's static. He's just standing there with his bolter combi Melta just at the side and kind of commander like. I've seen some really good conversions though in like doing a little research of people that have updated him, quote unquote, both with his captain profile and his later Death Company profile.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people out there that are doing just that as well. Mm-hmm. So if you guys, want to get a cool updated version of one of these models, do a simple Google search and you'll probably find some inspiration to get an updated cool character for your army.
There's some of the artists on Cool Meter or Not have done some really awesome versions of him.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So Asterion Moloch sells is a Forge World model. So he's still not Primaris sized as well.
Right.
But this model, so he's featured heavily in Fall of Orpheus, Imperial Armor 12.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I'm showing Justin the picture of him in Fall of Orpheus.
This is Sparta.
And if you look at his model, it is basically a perfect representation of the picture, the art picture that they have.
He's
painted.
really well done. Really well done.
He is incredibly. His armor is so ornate, and you have these Minotaur themes, like these bull-headed themes, like in the greaves on the shield, which is held high. He's got his black spear, which is just ridiculously powerful in the game. You have this whole Sparta kind of look. That's a great comparison.
It doesn't get much more heroic than that lad.
No, he's it's an incredible model. His pose,
the way he has his shield out
in
front of him, and
his pose is just perfect. It's there are models out there that are good, and then there are models that like their pose catches everything for me.
Yeah.
One of those,
he's standing on the requisite rock.
Yeah, he is. One of those poses is
not leaping off of it.
The original Typhus in Terminator armor. I love the pose of that model. It just is perfect. Creed, you just talked about Creed. Looking at that model, I'm like, it's actually the perfect pose. He's surveying the battle. He's doing exactly. He looks in charge in that. This is a pose that just nails it. Like it's just so perfectly placed. The new Shield Guardian guys for the Primaris in the new box.
Yeah.
They're fantastic poses, right? Sometimes a pose can make a model that may not be great look a lot better.
Sure.
And in this case, you have a great model with a great pose, and it just really kills it. It's currently out of stock. You could only, when you could buy it, you could only buy it with the chaplain as well, who's incredible also.
Is he out of stock or out of production?
I don't know. It says temporarily out of stock.
Oh,
So in theory, it's coming back, but it was $100 and you get these two models. So they're $50 each, which is pretty steep. But the chaplain is absolutely incredible looking too.
Yeah, he's good too.
In Comey, carrying the two-handed Crozius with a power fist and the skull helm in the Spartan helm is just awesome. But Moloch is the problem here is I'd love to kind of kit bash this guy together, but I don't feel like you could do him justice at a Primaris-sized level because there's just so much detail in this.
And he is in Terminator armor.
He is in Terminator armor, yeah. And his helmet, like if you look at his helm is like totally unique for Terminator armor.
Yeah.
It has like that whole Spartan look to the eye slots.
Yeah, the angularity stuff. Yeah.
Oh, it's like you'd almost want to look to maybe the custodian range.
Yeah, but that's actually a really good point. That's
because they have some crazy
just cut the top knot off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just sculpt on some bullheads and
just like that.
Tassels and
for sure. For sure. I'm in love with this model. And there were
pretty cool.
When Ed sent me the army, And Adan has the Thunderhawk. The Thunderhawk arrived in pieces. It did not survive the transit over the Atlantic Ocean very well.
Warp storm.
It didn't. It just broke along the seams where it was glued.
It's not
so
bad.
it's totally repairable. But there were a few models that I was super excited that were going to be in there, and he is one of them for sure. The other one's the character Dreadnought, which the name's escaping me at the moment, but that's a freaking amazing looking model too. So that was I almost chose that Dreadnought as
he's
my character here, but there's just not enough information about him for me to really talk about. So anyway, that's the model. Let's talk about the rules for this, guys.
Sure.
All right. So let's start with Adan.
Yeah. So he's 150 points, and he's very, very much the kind of guy you'd want to take because he, for the guys around him, he increases their advance and charge moves by 1 inch, and he increases their strength by 1 inch. By 1. And then for him, it's kind of like the Ragnar. He has extra. He doesn't just get 1 attack on the charge. He gets D3. He doesn't get the straight 3. He gets a D3.
Sure.
But the other thing that's really nice for him is that he actually is more survivable than a Terminator. He's a 2+, 4++. So getting that 4+ invul and save is no joke. And if you're playing Black Templars, I think he's a great choice. I mean, it's only 150 points, and the bonuses he gives to the people around him. And he's a Black Templar unit who's close to him, so he increases his strength by 1 too, right?
And Adan, have the Black Templars received the combat doctrines buffs?
Yeah, they have their own supplement.
Okay.
So yeah, they're definitely one of the favored chapters. I think he's an awesome model. I think he's an awesome addition to that army. He may be a little points heavy, maybe. I'm not a points efficiency kind of guy, but I really do like his rolls.
Nice.
Yeah.
Justin, what about good old Captain Tycho?
He's okay. He's kind of okay. You read his lore, and he's one of those characters where you're like, I wish he kind of did this, and I wish he did that. He's not terrible. He's not amazing. He's just kind of okay. He's got a 2 damage bolt gun. Another thing with him that's really interesting is, kind of going back to like the rough lore on him is that he's, taken place, the TLDR is that he's taken place in the second and third war for Armageddon. The second war, he got blasted in the head by an orc weird boy, which mangled half of his face. He was basically left for dead, mangled half of his face and like paralyzed it into this rictus grin. So he almost kind of had like a Two-Face from DC thing kind of going on.
Yeah.
Right.
And ever since then, he was kind of never the same.
Yeah, he's like that metal.
Yeah, he's got the metal faceplate.
Guy, right?
Because they're blood angels. They're pretty boys. They can't walk around.
Not my face.
With half their face sneering at you. It'd just be weird. But he's ever since then he was just not the same. And then fast forward to the third war for Armageddon, and he's on the same planet as the travesty took place, and he falls to the Black Rage. Right. So he goes deep down the rabbit hole. He ends up dying. He ends up charging into the orc, headlong into the orcs, and taking 1 million out with him as heroes do, and ends up going down, which allowed the Imperial army to win the day, of course. But you read his rules compared to his lore of him, in his captain version, I would have liked to see him kind of have maybe an extra command point for the army or some kind of strategic genius, because he was that when he was a captain. He was a very bright dude.
Yeah.
And then in his Death Company version, I would have liked to seen him be just a little more insane, just to get that dichotomy. Because, the rules are subtly different.
Yeah.
When he's a captain, he gets all the captain abilities. He is a pretty cheap captain for the points. He's like around 100 points, around 95, I believe. And he has Artificer armor. So he's got a 2-up save. And he's got a combi bolter that does 2 damage. And they get combat doctrines. He's got a cool little fist that he can run in and smack things with that has digital lasers, but it doesn't give him a strength buff in either profile, which is so huge in 40K,
it is.
He's a blood angel, so when he charges in, he's going to be +1 to wound.
Right.
Cool. And he can stack a lot of like bonus attacks, especially when he's playing against orcs. which is nice.
Right.
So he's one of those
very
guys.
against orcs.
Yeah,
Right.
if you're looking to play against an orc buddy with your Blood Angels, I think he'd be really fun, especially like in a Crusade game or a narrative game.
Yeah.
To include him, especially in his Death Company role.
Yeah.
Because the amount of attacks he can potentially get is pretty awesome. Again, they're only strength 4, but potentially, he's looking at like a possible 13 attacks when playing against orcs.
That's huge.
So he can go in there and smack some face. But,
And it's only strength 4, but he's +1 to wound on the charge. So it's almost like being
Yep,
better,
he's
right?
+1 to wound, and then when he's under the Death Company, under the Black Rage, he does get a 6++ shrug, as all Death Company
nice.
do.
Yeah.
But all in all, it would have been cool to see him get a little bit more. It looks like a lot of the Blood Angels characters, though, from that kind of era, they were like a little bit afterthought.
Yeah, I would agree.
Especially talking with Chris, I'm like, yeah, that guy should really have that, and this guy should have that. It's just a feeling I got when I was reading these rules of this guy could have a couple little intricate rules to add to him to really make him
better.
Not only better, but have him match the lore.
Makes sense.
A bit more.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Well, and the Blood Angels players felt a lot like Sisters players, where they kind of got that feeling of, well, you're an afterthought, because they had a
White Dwarf
codex that was in White Dwarf.
Yep. For the longest time in 4th edition, that was their codex. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just like the Sisters.
Well, let me tell you, Asterion Moloch is 10 power level.
Oh, jeez.
Whoa.
Because his movement's only 5 inches, weapon skill 2+, ballistic skill 2+, strength 4, toughness 4, wounds 6, 4 attacks, saves on a 2+. He's in Terminator armor.
Right.
He is equipped with the Black Spear, which is strength +2, AP -3, damage 3.
Wow.
If the target is a character, you make an additional attack with the weapon. So he kills characters. But not only that, the Black Spear has a firing mode as well, where it is Assault 1, and it fires the Black Spear Las Beam.
Sure.
Which is strength 8 -2 D3 wounds.
Whoa.
I remember playing against this guy when I brought the first time I brought
Lightning bolt.
my Ultramarines to Warhammer World.
I cast Fireball.
And I played Ed. And then he's like, okay, well, first I have this attack, and he shoots basically a las cannon out of his spear. I'm like, of course he does it. I'm like, who designed this guy? Because Alan Bly's like right there. I'm like, who designed this guy? This is terrible.
But Carl, he's a chapter master.
Yeah, so that's a good point, though. He is a chapter master, right? Which means he also re-rolls failed hit rolls for friendly Minotaurs units within 6 inches.
And he has
Failed hit rolls, not ones.
That's good.
And he's in Terminator armor, but he has a storm shield, right?
Well, I was going to throw that out there.
invul.
Yeah, he has a storm shield and an iron halo, which okay. So he has 3+ invuln. He has undying spite, which means if he's slain in the fight phase before he's fought, he immediately piles in and makes all his attacks before being removed. So even if you kill him in combat, he's going to get it. He's going to get his. Fury of the Minotaurs. He rerolls failed charge rolls for friendly Minotaur infantry units within 6 inches of him.
That's big.
And then of course he has teleport strike, right? Because he's in Terminator armor. But yeah, I mean he's a beast in combat. He is an absolute beast
as
in
it
combat.
should be.
Yeah. And wait till you hear the story I tell you about him later.
Just murder
and his
face.
quote unquote bodyguards.
Nice.
Yeah, but I mean everything about this is a great character and it really speaks to Minotaurs. I just love it. So yeah, love it.
Very cool.
So what supplements are your guys' things listed? And why don't I, since I'm talking Minotaurs, let me speak. Imperial Armor Volume 9 and 10, both pieces of the Badab War he is present in. Imperial Armor 12, The Fall of Orpheus, quite frankly, in my opinion, probably the best of the Imperial Armor books to have ever come out.
Okay.
And not only is it the best Imperial Armor book just because of the story, but it also introduced the Minarch dynasty for the Necrons, which are just like the most evil Necron dynasty I've ever read about. It has Deathcore Krieg in it. It has Minotaur Space Marines in it. And it introduces one of the best campaign systems ever for 40K. And then also he's in the Forge World update for
Sure.
For the Imperial armor stuff for 8th edition. So, yeah. What about you, Adan? Where's your
So he's in
from?
every Black Templar's codex since the 4th edition.
Yep.
He's really big. There's a big story about him and Imhotep. So he's actually even mentioned in the Necron's codex.
Yeah.
He's in the Wa Gazgul supplement from 7th Ed.
Okay.
Remember they had that 3-book series?
Yeah.
So he's mentioned in that because he has a connection to Yarick. And they did a thing on him in White Dwarf 313 as well.
Oh, yeah, that'd be nice. I didn't even think about some of these guys are getting coverage in White Dwarfs, too.
Oh, yeah.
Justin, what about your guy?
So he's been basically much like Ragnar. He's been from 2nd edition codex through 8th edition.
Yep.
Which, man, like, I don't remember. Is that model must be that old?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember another version. Fun fact, though, and I hope that Games Workshop does more of this. The lore for Tycho actually came from the very first 2nd edition battle report.
Oh, interesting.
They did in White Dwarf.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So where he was literally killed by an orc weird boy, and then they tied that into his lore of like, yeah, he was blasted by a weird boy, and it was probably with that first edition model, the Rogue Trader model.
Yeah.
Blasted by a weird boy, and then fast forward to the mind bullets and face mask and yada yada yada. But just kind of cool to see from a. I don't think they do that anymore.
I like how they evolve stuff like that though. Sometimes.
Yeah,
very cool.
It's interesting that he's officially dead, but they still have him in there.
Right.
Well, it turns out he wasn't dead. His just face got blasted.
Yeah.
No, he actually ends up dying.
I know.
They took his Death Company corpse. He's on the Primaris table as we speak. He'll be fine.
He'll be fine. Don't worry about it. That Primaris table fixes everybody.
They put him in stasis. They flash froze him. He'll be fine.
He'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
Him and Gilliman were
the Rubicon Primaris.
Because I'm not going to lie, I would like to see an updated version of this model.
It'd be amazing.
It'd be cool.
Yeah.
But other than that, 2nd edition through 8th edition, bunch of White Dwarfs and chapter approves, and he was in Index Astartes 2 Angels of Death.
All right. Black Library examples for our heroes here. Unfortunately, there has not been any Minotaurs.
That is
Black
a travesty.
Library. Yeah. And what was funny, Ed, speaking of Ed Brown again, was actually writing a proposed story that he submitted. And unfortunately did not get accepted, but he had sent it over to me to read, and it was actually quite awesome. So I'm kind of bummed it never got accepted.
Well, maybe somebody else will pick up the mantle.
Yeah,
now
hopefully.
that they're not doing the Imperial armor books anymore.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I'm curious to see what Games Workshop does with those Forge World units now. So we'll see that soon.
Oh, those indexes! I cannot wait.
Yeah,
or indexes. Are they going to be indexes?
I mean, index forces of the Adeptus.
And now that the Games Workshop, playtest team is focusing on those, it's going to be good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. What about you, Adan?
So he's in a couple different things with Black Library. He's in a book called Crusaders of Dorne. Mm-hmm. He's in the omnibus for the Battle of Armageddon because he does
of course.
figure into that Gazgul Yarick story.
Is he?
And then he's in a novel that I'll be talking about later called Dishonored.
Is he not in Hell's Reach at all?
No.
I could have swore there's like a scene where Grimaldus is talking to him and he's getting his orders that you have to go here.
Oh, maybe.
Or maybe Grimaldus is just thinking back on it. But yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's a great
book. He's not figuring in that
No, he's not.
Story.
No,
he may be mentioned.
He's just telling somebody what to do. You know what though? If you like Black Templars, that is a Black Templar book.
Oh yeah,
Black
Hell's
Templar.
Reach.
That is so good.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Justin.
So you guys remember when the internet exploded over Blood Angels allying with Necrons?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't quite explode because I didn't really care. But reading into this, I'm like, you know what? This is kind of cool. And now that we have the Silent King kind of making an appearance, it was kind of cool to get this little tidbit of lore.
Well, they don't. That's great. Have you read that little short where they actually ally with him?
Yeah.
It's not like they're like, "Hey, buddy, what's up?"
No.
They're like, "This place is being overrun by Tyranids."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey,
and that's what I picked. I'm like, this is so cool that like Tycho was, one of 3 Marines to actually the only 3 humans to listen to the Silent King speak.
They went and talked to him.
They went and talked to him. You know, they brought a rhino. They all loaded into a rhino loaded with explosives,
with an atomic, right? Because they were like, we're just going to set this thing off and kill everybody,
right? And so it wasn't just like, hi Necrons, hi Blood Angels,
and then didn't it like get just disabled or something? Like they drove it up there and they're like, it won't fire or something.
I do not recall that part, but basically it was like Tycho basically stands there like thumbs, unarmed, thumbs on his side. And, they're basically forcing him to kneel. It's the Silent King with 10,000 Necrons arrayed out before him.
And he gets furious because they show him like the face mask of Sanguinius.
The Silent King is wearing a face mask of Sanguinius because apparently back in the history he tried to make peace with Sanguinius because he had some foresight or something, or thought he'd be a better
But
emperor.
they took it as like a complete insult too.
Yeah, exactly. But thankfully, thankfully, they were able to shake hands and fight it out. But it was just cool to read that story because I had never actually, all I heard was Blood Angels allying with Necrons, kind of weird. But here you have...
I think it's a really cool story.
I think it's cool too, and it shows that like, even as grim as this universe is, that you can have, humans allying with Necrons.
But that is not like a buddy alliance.
No.
That's not like a lethal weapon.
Enemy of my enemy.
Yeah, that's not a lethal weapon Riggs
Exactly.
and Murtaugh alliance. That is a like, the minute this is over, I'm gonna freaking slaughter you.
And they caught a lot of grief after it, and everybody's like, why didn't you just blow them up? You had the chance. But they wanted to save, kind of goes to the nobility of the Blood Angels.
I swear to God, I think there was like a thing where like the Necrons basically disable the ability for the bomb to go off. I could be mistaken, but I feel like, because the Necrons have like, they used to turn off suns.
Sure.
Like they're like,
They didn't sense the explosives in the
they were
rhino
just like, no, that's not going to go off.
the little triggers in their gauntlets.
Yeah.
It was just fun to read.
I can't remember for sure.
I can't wait for more. I know this is an Imperial show for us, but I can't wait to hear more about the Silent King.
Maybe somebody will cover that when we do the Xenos one.
Absolutely. Give it like a few months so we can actually get the info,
Justin, you're on a roll. Let's talk about your favorite story involving Tycho.
Well, that was actually pretty much my...
Oh, that was it?
We
rolled into it?
I was going to say, he kind of went to the last part of it.
No problem.
That was pretty much it. And then just other than that, I mean, just again, that quick rise. And another big thing with this guy too is that an interesting predicament the Blood Angels have found themselves in is that they don't have a known successor.
Yeah.
So Dante was being basically bred to be, or Tycho was being bred to be the successor for Dante if he was to go down.
Yeah.
And now that Dante is in charge of this whole campaign, it's kind of like a little like, what's going to happen if Dante goes down? Even though that guy's been around since like the Horus Heresy, he'll probably live forever. And even when he dies, he'll become Primarist and Primaris tabled. But it's just really interesting. I mean, Tycho, obviously his main storyline is the Armageddon stories and just his fall from grace and that tragic fall,
So the novel, there was a novel, right? You said Black Tide is the name of the novel.
Yeah, there's only been one novel as far as I know.
Okay. What about you, Adan?
So the story that I took is kind of goes through his kind of progression is he has a long-standing rivalry with Imhotep, the Necron, and in Dishonored, Imhotep actually fights him pretty early on in the novel and basically humiliates him and cuts off his hand and says, you're going to suffer. Basically, you get to suffer the being dishonored by me, and you'll have to live with that kind of thing. And Helbrecht, he doesn't take it very well.
Yeah.
He feels dishonored. He actually, the loss of his hand and all that kind of stuff. And he ends up kind of making a pilgrimage to the Hand of Dorn.
Hoping to get another hand.
Right. Because the Primarch had his hand taken off.
Right.
And so,
right. That's right.
And so when he realized that, he was like, I could be honorable like the Primarch, and he kind of re-establishes himself. It's kind of like the old kung fu movies where the guy gets beaten down and he goes and trains silently and comes back to fight the guy. I thought it was kind of funny. He fights Imhotep on Schrodinger 7. That's the name of the planet, Schrodinger. So when he's on the planet, he's both dead and not dead. Anyway, so when he circles back around to fight Imhotep, they end up on this ship, and he's not able to actually kill him, but he ends up tearing up the ship from the inside out. He destroys his ship, but he does it from the inside out. So Hellbreak just basically goes on this rampage and destroys the ship from the inside out. But just over the course of his history, having that kind of running rivalry with Imhotep, kind of like Yarrick and Gazi, right? It's a similar kind of dichotomy they set up. So, that's I think that's really interesting storyline that he has.
So you have kind of limited stories on my chapter master here, Asterion, and kind of towards the. So one of the great things about Fall of Orpheus is it tells you a story up to a point. Half the sector's captured by Necrons, and then it's like, okay, now go.
You determine what happens.
Yeah, to figure out what happens, determine what happens through playing through the campaign. So really, in the story portion of the book, it gets to a point, but then things progress from there. So it's not really the climax of the whole story.
Right.
You make the climax of the story, but in the I guess penultimate climax, is that the one before the climax?
The one before the end. Yeah.
You have this massive void war going on between the Minotaurs and the Imperium and a bunch of Necron vessels, and they're in this huge space battle. Finally, the capital ship of the Necrons gets damaged, and the Minotaurs begin like teleporting in there. They're fighting their way through this Necron capital ship, like just loaded with different Necrons in it. They fight their way kind of into this massive chamber, and that's when Moloch and his 30 Terminator bodyguards all teleport in, along with 2 Contemptor dreadnoughts, all teleport in at the same time.
Just lay
That's
waste.
a whole army right there.
And just start like firing, at everything. But the thing is, like, there's so many Necrons in here of the Minarch dynasty, as they're like firing at them. Like, of course, the Necrons are just getting back up, and so they're slowly but surely surrounded, and then in this ever shrinking circle of Terminators and warriors still fighting these endless amounts of Necrons. Well, the ship gets damaged at one point, and kind of the whole room kind of tilts, and it loses its its anti-gravity. Like, people aren't floating around, but like
it shifts. The gravity
shifts, and so people are kind of like sliding. And now, mind you, there's a huge hole in the side of the ship at this point too, so it's open to the void, and it kind of shifts. They're still fighting, but the Necron Overlord is slaughtering Terminators and stuff as he's moving forward with his scythe, just cutting through them. He's like this super powerful Overlord, and he's trying to get to Moloch to kill Moloch, and then one of the Contemptor dreadnoughts intervenes in between and tries to punch him with his dreadnought close combat weapon.
Sure.
And the Necron Overlord blocks it with the scythe, and the dreadnought close combat weapon just explodes in these sparks.
Yeah, he cuts the dude's hand off,
and then he starts just laying into the dreadnought. He's just slicing up this dreadnought when Moloch kind of comes up behind him and thrusts his spear into him, the black spear, and just thrusts it into the Necron Overlord, who then falls to its knees, right? And he pulls the spear out, and of course at that point the ship a big explosion happened. The ship shifts
the other way
again, and
of course,
and Moloch and a bunch of dead Minotaurs and dead Necrons and everything are sucked out of the ship at this point, and so they're separated. But the last thing he sees is the Overlord staring at him with this hatred, this intense alien hatred, and that's where they kind of separate. And they do this pretty frequently in Forge World books, where it's these two champions are fighting, and then a rift appears between them, and you're okay, but this was done pretty well.
Nice.
And so actually, Moloch, they thought he was lost, they thought he was killed. And so he kind of floated in space for a while until they realized, oh, wait a minute, let's go recover the chapter.
He knows the trouble I've seen floating in the void, yeah.
But who knows? Maybe he didn't get recovered, and it's a different...
There you go.
Different
Moloch,
Pirate Roberts.
Right?
To this day, he may still be floating out there.
He's still floating out there. Hello. I'm all alone out here. in my Seuss membrane. So yeah, I mean, it's a cool character. I would love to see more written about these guys because they are pretty awesome. But
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see where things go.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of it. That's it.
A lot of fun characters.
Yeah, I like talking about this stuff.
It's fun diving in.
Yeah. All right, so let's do this. We're going to take a break. We'll come back and close out the show. All right. That's it. Thanks for joining us for episode 208 of the Independent Characters. We're starting to get back on a regular schedule again, I feel like, so that's good. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add here. You guys got anything else to add to what we've talked about so far?
No, just now I want to go make some Black Templars.
I really
That's the problem with these shows.
Now I got excited. I really want to go paint those Minotaurs. So
great, yeah.
Well,
you've got all those Indominus.
That's
guys.
not a problem.
It's a good problem, but it's a distracting problem. A distracting issue.
So listen, please leave us a review on iTunes. We love reviews on iTunes. No matter where you're listening from, leave us a review. We absolutely love it. Give us a fair review, whatever you think we're worth. I tend to think we're worth a lot, but if you disagree, you can let us know in multiple ways. You can reach out to us on Facebook. You can send us an email. You can reach me at carl@theindependentcharacters.com. You can join our Facebook group and talk to us, any of the people who've been on there. We also have a Patreon. If you're interested in joining that, you can take a listen there. And you have chat access where you can, chat with a bunch of us that are on there frequently, that kind of thing. But just enjoy your hobby.
Absolutely.
I think that's all we really want you to do. Enjoy it your way
and get excited about 9th edition.
Oh man, I'm so excited. Now, here's the thing. I've talked amongst you guys about 9th edition. Everybody and their mother's talking about 9th edition and the Crusade box set, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, here's the thing. We will not do a show that is
review.
Welcome to 9th edition. The only way I would do something like that is if we were kind of approaching it in a different way, right? If we had a different take on it. But the reality is, everybody and their mother out there is talking about it. Like you're gonna get the rules. You're gonna enjoy them. Read them, play them.
Yep.
Let us know how you're enjoying it. We're gonna enjoy it.
And we're going to talk about it.
And we're going to talk about it, but we're not going to do it in one whole show.
There's a million YouTube videos out there and a million podcasts that are doing it.
It's overkill. It's overkill. And we've always kind of gone our own way here. And this started a long time ago, and I'll just lay this kind of on you is there used to be a review on Bella Lost Souls every week of the podcasts that had been released. And when the Necrons came out for 5th edition, I saw the 8 or 9 podcasts for 40K that had been listed in the article that time, including the Independent Characters at that time.
Necrons.
I did a search for the word Necron, and it showed up like 45 times in that article.
Yeah.
Because everybody was talking about it. And I was just like, and meanwhile, we were talking about like, hey, what's the old 13th Black Crusade campaign like for Cadia, back in White Dwarf. I don't remember what we were talking about, but it was not Necrons. And so we're always going to go our own way here a little bit. If you're looking for that kind of coverage, there's a bunch of places you can check out.
Hell, the Warhammer community. They have all the
Warhammer community,
all the little information you need.
They're killing it.
Gone nuts on this stuff.
They're killing it.
I love how the rulebook leaked and they're like, "Oh, that's cool. Here you go. Here's the rules."
And it's funny because you see people who are like, "Oh, I'll bet they leaked it on purpose." Look, as somebody who talks to those guys, like they were disappointed that it got leaked.
Yeah,
like they work up to this. They
were clearly disappointed they couldn't sell more Indominus sets.
Yeah. But I mean, the reality is they work hard on positioning things and wanting people to see it the way they see it. And
for sure,
when it gets leaked like that, it's incredibly frustrating to them. So I feel bad for them. I actually sent a couple of those guys an email. I was like, man, I'm really sorry to hear this leaked because that's not what you'd want and let but we love it. So thanks for sending us the copy to look at.
Everybody here is super excited about it, and
it's yet another chapter in 40K. I mean, that's the way I feel like every time we've now gone through in the show
4 editions. I think
so.
I think I joined during 5th.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've gone through 4 editions now, and I've just felt like it gets better and better. And every time an edition change happens, I kind of go through the same emotional thing. Like there's a point where I'm just like, I'm tired. Like I'm tired of.
I don't want to read anymore
because there's so much talking about it and everything.
Yeah.
And GW's done I think they've over marketed it in some ways, where it's just like, that's all they've been talking about. And I'm just like, just give it to me so I can play it.
I mean, we were always pinging each other back and forth, all of us, like, I just want this rule set
just
already.
come out.
Is it better to get that slow drip or that big hit in the arm?
I don't know. I don't know, but I do know it came at the right time for me because I was, and so I was just like, it got to the point where I was having a hard time getting excited about it until I played my first game. And then I was like, oh, yep, I'm right back on the horse.
See, I was the opposite. Yeah. All the little rules changes I read, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Even though that affects my armies in a bad way, I still think it's good for the game.
No, I agree. But as it kept going on.
Like you just wanted to play?
I was just like, okay, And I think Doug felt the same way. I think a bunch of us felt the same way.
Sure.
But now that it's here, we have it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right,
but
right.
now that we're playing it, like, oh, thank God. And I'm so excited for Crusade. So excited for
that really got me going, the Crusade thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Super stoked there. So anyway, that's kind of where I stand on it. Like, we're not going to do some specific, we may do episodes that approach things from different angles, but we will not do like some, hey, welcome to 9th edition, and here's all the changes, and here's how it's different now. And there's a lot of things that are different.
Yeah.
You're going to love it.
Highly polished is the best way I would put it. I love it.
Right on. All right. Well, I guess that'll do us then. So until next time, this is Carl.
This is Adan.
And this is Justin.
And we're coming to you from the Astronomicon, where
I almost did that.
Adan?
Where not all heroes wear capes, but they do seem to be rather prevalent on hero models.
And you too can be a hero of the Imperium.
That's right. Mohawk has a cape. So does Ephraim Stern. They all did. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We will catch you in episode 209.
Cheers.
This episode of The Independent Characters is protected by the Creative Commons license. If you have further questions as to its use, you can find information on the front page at theindependentcharacters.com.